Welcome to the Warriors and Wardens podcast, formerly the Origin Keynote podcast. We are dedicated to sharing the lived experience of military and first responder communities from Australia and around the world. I'm your host, Tom Brown. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, g'day guys and girls. Welcome to another episode of the Warriors and Wardens podcast, formerly the Origin K9 podcast. And today we've got Josh Bailey with me in the studio. And if you can hear some fuzzy noise in the background, it's just because it's fucking belting down with rain. But hopefully it'll come out post-edit. But Josh, welcome, bro.
Mate, thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure. And it's a great setup. I really love what you got here. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm actually,
awesome.
like I said, I'm fucking pumped, man. Like it took me a long time to turn it into what it is, and I've got a little bit more to go, man. Like just a bit of mess. I got to get out of here, but yeah, man, I'm pretty happy with it.
Those drums over there look pretty inviting, actually.
yeah. People at home that are watching, listening, I've got a big drum kit, like electric drum kit in the corner next to the thing.
Yeah.
But Josh, mate, you drove down from the sunny coast. I live on the Gold Coast, and for anyone who doesn't know, that's like a 2.5 hour,
about 2 hours,
2 hour drive,
Yeah.
decent drive in the belting rain. Plus, we had a fucking flooded road
We did. Yeah.
down the road, and yeah, man, like all regardless of season, weather or terrain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Beyond the scope and capability of conventional ADF forces.
Well, that old chestnut. I actually said that answer back in 1996 when I applied for one commando company, and back in those days, you had 1 day physical test. And the guy asked me, he said, what do commandos do? And I told him that, exactly that. They operate beyond the range, scope and capability of other ADF assets, elements. And he said, oh, that's great. Would you put on a pair of fins and swim across the harbour? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, what the fuck are fins? But yeah, that reminds me, that old saying's been around for 30 years now, at least. But yeah, it was back then. That's what you did if you wanted to get into Mossman One Commandos. You had to do a day of a selection day, and then you went through Rio after that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Was that? Why was that? Is that just because they just hadn't formulated a proper selection course sort of thing?
No,
yet, or just
it was very well. It was very well entrenched. But what you did is, so if you want to be a reservist, so I came across from 217 RNSWI, which is a Blacktown support company. I don't know if it's still there. And you do 1 day of selection to see if they'll accept you into the unit to do what's called CTIC, which is Commando Training Induction course. And once you pass that, then you go on to the CBTC, which is the selection. And then from there, you're in the unit. So way back then, you did 1 day and they put you through physical testing. They give you an interview at the end. And that was one of the answers I gave. And the dude's like, well, that's part of the fucking doctrine, mate. What would you really do? And I was like 20. I was really young.
Yeah.
And I was really proud of myself for giving that answer because I wasn't that mature back then. And I was like, this guy just ripped me apart. This is a cool answer. But yeah. Back then, that's what you did. Yeah. That was a Mossman. Yeah.
It's still there, right? Or is it?
Yeah.
Is it moved, maybe?
So the story behind that, Joe Hockey was a local federal member. And one of the advisors was a guy named Rod Whittier. Now, I played rugby union and sort of cricket with him through the rugby union club there down in Canberra. And they decided that defence had too many assets, kind of thing. They didn't like the idea that superannuation was so good. And so they went, why do we need a army unit in a plush suburb like Mossman? So they turned it into a park. They turned it into a fucking park.
Mm.
And then they sent the dudes down to Penguin, and then now they're at Holsworthy.
Yeah.
So the idea is because of the lineage of the old school commandos in World War II, there's a huge history around that area. They use Kleppers and they use, Crafts Opportunity and stuff. And cliff assaults and all that sort of stuff, and Zodiacs and swimming, all that was available right near Mossman around those high cliffs and everything around there. So it's a perfect spot.
Yeah.
And then they said, no, mate, no. The millionaires win. So if you go down to Penguin, it was never the same after that.
Yeah.
Never the same.
And what did you do the move with them? You started Mossman and then went down?
I joined did CTIC for a year. You do a year. You did back then a year of CTIC. So 4AR was just starting. So really back then, back in the early days, there was really only one sort of operational commando unit, but they were reserves. So let's be honest, they weren't really, unfortunately, you would learn all the skills, but you didn't have the time to practice.
Yeah.
And back then, you were taught by dudes from SAS because they were Carter staff come over from Perth into Sydney. So everyone, fucking, that's hopeless. Well, actually, they were trained by the guys from Perth. The SAS dudes would come over, So you had received good training. You just didn't have the time to do it because blokes have another job as well.
Yeah.
The reserve, so it's tax-free and it's not your income. It's not allowed to be. It's not structured to be for reserves to be the sole purpose of income. It's just not the way it is. So dudes, well, they received all the training, but they just didn't give the assets or the time to go and be what you needed to be, hence the raising of 4AR, now 2 Commando, because of the capability that's required in today's environment. So, yeah, they went across to Penguin. I was there not very long. I kind of really happy to have passed and worn the Green Beret, but another thing I need to sort of really understand and accept was that I wasn't the most suited person to be a commando. I was okay at all the kicking indoors and the unarmed combat and the shooting and stuff. But where I fell down was the water ops. I didn't really like the water.
Huh. And
then the sort of vertical sort of challenges of rappelling and roping and stuff. I could do it, but it took me a long time to get proficient at it. It wasn't really.
Me too, man. Yeah. I was like, I loved all the cool, sexy stuff, but like the roping, man, I was a fucking nightmare, man. I was like a fly caught in a spider web, I was just. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I wasn't that mad suited. But then I rejoined the unit, and they were down at Penguin in 2007, and so I got thrust straight. I'd been away from the unit for 7 years, and then a couple of months after I rejoined, I was thrust into the CUO CQB phase. So I was fucking qualified. I passed the course, the CUO CQB course, but without even an M4 qual. They just kind of, because Afghanistan was on, they needed people. So then after I'd fucking finished those courses, they went, we need to run an SF weapons course. And we did the shotgun, the M4, Mag 58 stuff. Yeah, so there's that. I didn't get qualified until like 6 months after officially. But the CQB, as you know, the final one of the final things you do is the NVG live fire shoot in the kill house. So I was pretty happy with that. And then, transition drills, the pistol and shit. That was pretty cool. So I was okay with that, but it was just the challenges of the vertical environment and the water. I used to get seasick, still do.
Oh, yeah.
Just constantly fucking seasick. And that was kind of, because you get anxious and then, of course, you get sick. And I don't know why. There's nothing in the DSM-5 about people getting fucking seasick. So I have to put that down as much as you'd like to come on a podcast and go, I'm the ultimate warrior. For me, that's not true in the sense of what the guys in SOCOM were exposed to in the environments. It's just the vertical and the maritime environments wasn't really suited, unfortunately, and that's a regret I have.
But I think that's fairly typical, right, of that sort of environment anyway. There's, probably a lot of imposter syndrome. The performance pressure is horrendous.
Yeah.
There's always a comparison. There's always someone better and bigger and stronger and more experienced. And I went through the same thing, for a long time, man. I've accepted it for what it is now. But that's pretty common in our kind of world.
That's true. And I don't think they had the appetite to spend more time training people like me. If I'd received more training, then I probably would have fitted in with the rest of the guys. I would have been fine. But there was the year up for Afghanistan. And so they went, these people are suited to go to war and these guys aren't, And I would have been okay with Afghanistan. But, the first time that, reserve commandos had gone over in a war zone since, I think, Vietnam, maybe. So in the SOCOM role, they went to Timor, but that was more in the conventional role. So the Choco commandos going over to Afghanistan, they kind of didn't know what to expect, and they kind of went high level with absolutely everyone they wanted to take. And then some of the stories you hear when they get back is some of disappointment, some of elation. They should have taken some other people and they shouldn't have taken this guy, so you can't change anything. And those guys who went, congratulations, they did their best, and I wish them well. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
So for me, I found kind of solace or better, more suited for me. It's really psychology, studying mental health and stuff was where I kind of found my niche. I mean, we backtrack a bit. When I was a kid, my first taste of resilience was when I was lucky to have two stepfathers. So my second stepfather, he was a Vietnam vet, and I now realize that his symptoms were very consistent with borderline personality disorder. So he was either you were his best friend or he was your worst enemy. It was just what they call splitting, where they can't regulate in between. It's all good or it's all bad. And they have high negative emotionality, but it's not for very long. And then they'll have huge dependency issues, alcohol in this instance, not very principled. So he was having affairs because he was a truck driver. So my half sister has a half sister, you know what I mean? Who,
Yeah.
so when I went for vetting for secret, it was top secret clearances, the dude's like, you need to draw your family map. I was like, fucking good luck with that, mate. So anyway, backtracking, I first learned that I had some form of resilience was when he grabbed me. We were living in a caravan park, one of many, and he used to be heavy-handed. He used to beat us up, myself and Georgina, my other sister. And then one day I'd wet myself because I was only about 6, and he rubbed my nose in my urine, and I took it well, and he was really proud of me after. He was well done for taking it like a man, because you had to be a man. So I was drinking 750 back then. They were like 750 beers by the time I was like 8 or 9. Jeez. Because you had to be a man. It's all about being a man. So I was smashing beers pretty young, and then we moved again, and then he broke my leg about 6 places. And now my right leg has about a 10 millimeter gap between my right and left. So you can have all the orthotics in the world, but the only thing that really evens me up is to wear a thong. So when I'm at home, I wear one right thong, and that evens me up. Yeah, it's pretty weird. My family's used to it now. But
for the Americans listening, that's a flip flop.
Yeah, it's a flip flop. Yeah, so that was when I first learned about kind of resilience and different people aren't always. You need to really pay attention into how people's behaviour affect you. I was very young, and then Lithgow, which is a bit of a shithole outside of the Blue Mountains on the other side, went into the children's court, and it was to do with gaining custody. So mum and dad had divorced, a few years prior, but mum had said, if Ian, which is my dad's name, gets sole custody, then I'm going to challenge the custody type thing. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, the first time around, Dad would stand up and say, yes, Your Honour, all that sort of stuff. And then Mum would just sit there and be like, no, yes. Anyway, the magistrate goes, all right, Josh, off with your mum still. And then later on, the stepfather broke my leg. And then we had to have another second family court thing in Sydney. And I was with my auntie Robin, who's pretty much my mum now. And the first time I ever went over the Harbour Bridge, because we had to go there. And I had to be there. It was in Sydney. It was like Darling Centre or something. I don't know if that's right, but it was right in Sydney. And I had to be there just in case they wanted me to give evidence and stuff. And I was just recovering from a broken leg. And Mum said, oh, no, there's definitely no issues with Josh, blah, blah, blah. And then she refused to say that the stepfather had physically assaulted me at all. And in the end, the evidence was overwhelming. And they went, you need to kind of relinquish custody. So I went and lived with my grandparents, and I was about 8. And then I copped the you're adopted for about fucking 5 or 6 years after that from people at school. And then living with the grandparents was pretty cool because it was a very structured, quiet life. So they had a 1/4 acre block at this place called Valley Heights, which is like next door to Springwood. It's in the lower Blue Mountains. And Gramps, he was captain of the local fire brigade. So he was captain for 20s or something. His local fire brigade. And he goes, women aren't allowed to join the fire brigade. That's it. not allowed. And so back then it was staunch, because back then when the great generation, the one above the boomers, they were doing nation building. So it was World War I, World War II, you had Malaya emergency, you had Vietnam. They were pushing all the way through to nation building, which we don't do anymore. We kind of, all our new, if you have a look at where we are socially, where we live, we're not getting new towns anywhere. We're just expanding on existing ones. Well, back in those days, people were still going to new towns. They're still building the nation.
Like
still,
pioneering sort of stuff. Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. So that's what the grandparents were used to doing. So Gramps was the one who went, we need to invent this thing called fire trails, because the 54 and 67 fires went through the Low Blue Mountains and took everything, just fucking took everything. So they had no photos of their wedding because the fires ripped right through. The Gramps was like, well, I'm off this. We need this thing for fire trails to access the areas. So that's where the idea of fire trails came from. So I'm told, I don't care if you invented it or not. But that was all part of the nation building thing. And they used to have what's called gentleman's tax. So if you worked for the federal government, you paid less tax because you were contributing to the building of the nation. Yeah. And the reason why Gramps and Grandma went up to Blue Mountains because they were conscripted by manpower, not the guys with the socks.
Not Jamie
no.
Drury or whatever his name is.
He was conscripted into World War II, but he was too old. He was too young to go, but old enough to be conscripted. And so they went, the war's over. And then he was an apprentice cabinet maker. And they said, well, don't give a shit. You're going to drive trains. So he drove steam trains because that's what the government needed.
Yeah.
So living with your grandparents, it was all about, this is what you need to do to contribute, to survive. This is what you need to do to be a good citizen. So I turned 17 and then joined the fire brigade because that's what you did, the Bush Fire Brigade, Valley Heights Bush Fire Brigade, turned up there. And everyone was a bit wary because Gramps had been around, this fucking bloke, grandson. And then I joined the reserves at 17, a bit older, 94. Yeah, so I joined the Bush Fire Brigade 93. Then I joined the reserves. And then that's where, a couple of years later, that story I originally told you about one commando, that I kind of just fell into that. And yeah, that was pretty much that. And then we went to Malaysia. They had one commando, 4RAR commando, sort of combined a bunch of dudes going over to Malaysia in March to May 2000, the year 2000. So we went to...
Is this like a Butterworth equivalent?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a training sort of activity?
Yeah. And we were meant to go to Timor, but then they said, no, you guys are chonkos and you guys aren't mature enough. So the whole commando fraternity went, fuck you. You're taking everybody else except us. So the actual commando ECN, we lost a lot of dudes because they just went, well, what's it all for?
I think your mic is...
Sorry, mate.
Right.
Because they just went, well, what's it all for? You want us to jump out of aircraft, get into a boat, drive the boat, and then climb up a vertical fucking, do a cliff assault, go in, do urban assault, and then get extracted by choppers and do, all this sort of stuff all in one fucking weekend. We can do that. And then you're saying we're not cool enough to go to fucking Timor? They lost a lot of dudes. So the idea of sending blokes to Butterworth was we're really sorry, go over there. But it wasn't the same. And Butterworth's just like the army, but fucking hotter,
Tully, yeah.
Yeah.
I never did Tully, but I get the gist. Yeah, I've been in jungle before.
So anyway, I went over there. That was pretty cool. But I ended up joining this thing called the Australian Protective Service. I was like, what the fuck's that? Anyway, the ad looked really good. So I signed up, and then there's basically security guards with some arrest functions under Commonwealth law, really.
Yeah.
You're kind of policing, but you're not really, because you don't have the investigative function.
Is that unsworn? Is that what that's called?
It is now. I think it's now called PSO, whatever, but you were sworn under the authority to work as a protective service officer. So you had like the power of arrest for like Section 76, which is like obstruct a public official. There was one fucking weird one under the Espionage Act. People were like, ooh, fuck, mate, no worries.
I catch spies.
So it was all about protection of Commonwealth assets. So the major airports were a Commonwealth asset, even though they leased out other people like the Sydney Airport Corporation, SACL. And And we did that sort of stuff. And then September 11 happened. And I was on night shift at Sydney Airport. Another guy called Jared Layton. We ended up being in the air marshals together. Him and I, we flew together. And we were watching it on TV. And I was like, fuck. We saw the tower hit, or the plane hit the tower, and then we saw another plane hit the tower. And I was like, holy fuck. But I wasn't surprised because bin Laden had sent a boat into the fucking, into a US warship not long before.
USS Cole, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, it must be him. Who was it?
I had one of the guys that was there on this potty a few years ago.
Wow, yeah.
Mike Ritland. Do you know Mike Ritland?
No.
Oh, ex-Navy SEAL dude, anyway, yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, so we were watching it on TV. And then the next day, Britney Spears had flown in the next day, and that was the big news. Oh, by the way, there's a few thousand people dead, but Britney Spears is in the house, you know. Fucking.
It's a hot chick here.
Yeah. So that was massive. And then they were like, right, we need air marshals. He wants to go, and I put my hand up. And because I'd been in one commando before, and I don't know, they just fucking needed people, I guess. So they went, oh, yeah, you're right. And so 16 of us went down to the course, the first ever course from November 2001. The 10 dudes from Sydney, 4 from Melbourne, and 2 from Canberra. I didn't really realize, I don't really care much for it. But the Melbourne people had this fucking, what do they have? They had this rivalry. We are better than Sydney. Like the Greeks, if you want racism, fucking, you've got more than one Greek person in your workplace, you've got fucking issues. They're just out of control. And a lot of them were for Vic Pole. Like their career had gone as far as they could in Vic Pole, and then they went, I'll go over and try this out. And then they went back. So it was leave without pay, you know. Because I don't know what APS blokes weren't good enough to do the job. Like I don't know why it went to the APS, but it did.
APS, what's that?
Australian Protective Service.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So it's no longer APS on its own. It got absorbed by the AFP like 2005 or 4 or something. I don't know. Yeah, so we did that. So we were the first ones to fly, the 16 of us. And we were like, fuck, what happens now? What do we do, you know? They gave us 40 caliber H&K pistols. Yep.
On an aircraft.
You get hit one of those, shit's getting real.
Yeah.
So
you've also now depressurized your aircraft.
Fuck. So this one guy, pilot, asked if we were using the frangible ammunition, and I don't know much about it, but apparently the round it disintegrates on hitting something hard like a bone. So I said, oh, of course we are. Yes, yeah, no fucking worries. But they were hollow points. These were fucking hollow point, 10.4 millimeter in our speak, 40 cal in, you know, the US speak. And we carried 45 rounds. So there's 90 rounds between us. So and a small baton that when you extended it would only go from my fist maybe to my bicep type thing. And then a couple of sets of plastic cuffs and a knife to cut the plastic cuffs. And then I think that was it. Yeah, on we went.
Yeah.
Fucking sweet. And then we ended up, yeah. So anyway, I'm not sure what they do now, but you know, it's no secret we've got air marshals, but I don't want to talk too much about that. I don't know what they have now. I wish them all the best, you know. And then, I got to go to PNG. Went to a place called Manus Island. So Australia, courtesy of Johnny Howard, got into this thing called offshore processing for the asylum seekers.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. So I went to Manus Island, and they had this fucking compound with fences around fences, and they kept all the people from people who got on boats and made it so far that the Navy or the Coast Guard had picked them up and said, "Bitches, you're now going to Manus." And so they weren't allowed onto the mainland of Australia because under their So there is a thing called there's a Migration Act 1958, and I think it's Section 189 of the Migration Act. If you're authorised to arrest under the Migration Act, you must detain that person. It actually says that. So arrest is not an option. You must detain them. So it's an arrest provision. They haven't committed an offence, but they're arrested for the purposes of, you know, fucking them off, basically. And so it's at the mainland as well as the outlying islands like Cocos, Keeling and Christmas. If they make it there, they can sort of come on board. So they sent them to Nauru and PNG and some other fucking place. So we're in PNG, and it was a good idea because they were like, pretty sure that, if anyone's going to, there's a certain criteria, demographic of people that's going to try and hijack the plane. And they also happen to be the same demographic in Manus Island. How about we send some air marshals over there? Yeah. So they gave us a baton, radio, cuffs, and off we went. Basically policed the bloody compound.
What was there already staff?
Yeah, there
on
was.
the compound. Okay, and you supplemented that, or they just thought, okay.
Yeah. So there was already normal PSOs there. There's already those dudes. Plus, we just complemented that, and then they had people from the United Nations. Yeah, if
like observers, just make sure you're not fucking being inhumane or whatever.
People from the embassy as well. Had embassy workers there. Mate, just a bunch of fucking lefties
and bureaucrats.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah. People who just fucking so you and I, we live life and we're the ones that they get to go and do something. Hey man, we need something hard done, go and do it. Well, these people judge that. So basically just a bunch of judges and watchers who fucking happen to be white, Karens. Where do you live? Oh, I live in Mossman. Yeah, that's great, love. So the UN was there. I think they had the European Union. They definitely had the EU in the Solomons when I was there. So they'd watch it all. But this one dude I met was a doctor, and he'd done his education in England.
And he was in the camp?
Yep.
Yep.
So he was an asylum seeker in the camp. And I can't remember his name now. I think he actually emigrated to Australia. Anyway, he'd done his time in London, came back, and he was one of Saddam Hussein's physicians, personal physicians. He had like several, because Saddam Hussein would move around to his different fucking places each night. And he said to me, I could only be in the Iraqi sort of district, sort of Baghdad CBD area. I couldn't really leave. So one day I left. I went, I'm going to go to another country. And when I get there, so this place he chose Australia because he disagreed with what Saddam was doing. So he's educated in a Western country, he speaks English well, he's a medical doctor, So he's worked out that, hang on a minute, Saddam's probably he's a bit of a dictator. Anyway, he gets to Australia. No, he gets to, where does he get? Somewhere in Southeast Asia. Anyway, he rings home, landline, and his mate answers.
Classic.
Yeah.
Just making sure your family's all right.
Well, his mate was there. He said to me, I knew this guy, but he wasn't the sort of guy who would be in my home answering my telephone. He said no one was home, and I'd heard stories. And so when he answered that phone, I knew my family was dead.
Oh, that's what shit. I was thinking he's fucking rooting his missus or something.
No. So he was, what he was saying was he would have been paid by the Iraqi dudes to like the fucking, I don't know, Iraqi henchmen or whatever. You'll stay here in case old mate comes back and you let us know. And we're going to take the family.
Oh, wow.
So he reckons that he would have reported back. The family would have been killed. And he's like, fuck, now I have to go to Australia now. I can't go back. So he got on a boat, traveled by boat to, if he caught him somewhere. And then he ended up in Manus.
Yeah, shit.
And he said to me, he goes, I land on Australia. I just give someone $50. I catch a taxi and then I just start practicing. He was like, they'll let me practice. He was really interesting in the sense that this guy's a medical doctor, but he was like, well, I'll just let me practice once I hit Australia. It's fucking fine. Yeah.
So, this like really book learned guy, but very ignorant about life in the world. Yeah, okay. Yeah. But it also just had his family murdered. Now, when you say family, you mean like wife, kids, or like, sister, brother, dad sort of thing?
Wife and 2 kids.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Mate, it's funny. You don't, not funny, but you don't hear a lot unless you sort of dig around, look for it, what the Saddam Hussein regime was like. And that stuff happens all the time in the Middle East, man. It's just...
Look at Iran.
Well, I've only seen a little bit of that, of what's going on there, but it looks like they've killed a lot, tens of thousands of people.
Yes. So Iran was never an Islamic regime. So the idea of wearing the hijab or whatever for those people is younger than I. I was born in 76 and the regime happened in 79 and they said, you'll all adopt Islam now. They're Persians, mate. They're not.
No, Arabs.
No, fuck no. So, that hopefully what happens to Iran comes to some good. And kudos to the Iranian people, because they've done what we're not doing. We're sitting back and going, oh, fuck, this is a pretty oppressive government. In 2 years' time, we'll just vote someone out. Fucking, they don't have that option in Iran.
Yeah.
We've got options in Australia. This morning, so today's the 13th of February, and Susan Ley got ousted by, Angus Taylor. So the idea of that is that Angus Taylor will hopefully voted in as a prime minister in 2 years. Well, they don't have that option in Iran. They've just got a fucking dictator who doesn't want to lose power. So the Iranians are fighting back. The only thing we're doing in Australia is fucking putting up with people saying pro-Palestine. I mean, polar opposites here.
Yeah, I think we're very, I think we're quite passive.
Oh, yeah.
And extremely tolerant.
That's because we have a lot of watchers, like those fucking people from the EU and the Karens from fucking embassy and shit, PNG, who want to watch people like you and I doing something and then say, oh, I don't know about that. That's a bit heavy-handed. Well, is it really? Too many people wanting to take the easy route. So priorities are wrong. Our priorities, for the most part in modern society, we're either not aware we're choosing the wrong priorities, or we don't even know what the word priority means. We need to understand our priorities in order of importance, and then choose what's important in our life and work towards the goals that we want to achieve. And that's what we're not doing in society. What do you want to see out of your life? What do you want to see in a functioning society?
I think we're so, fractured.
Yep.
That you can't have an end goal if we've got a billion. Like, not that we.
Yeah.
I'm not some pro White Australia policy dude or anti-immigration.
Yeah.
But if you've got so many cultures that aren't part of one culture, you can't keep everybody happy. You know what I mean? Like, somebody has to take primacy. There's got to be some sort of cohesion.
Yeah.
What's that word? Diversity without diversity without cohesion is just division.
Yes. Yeah, it's divisive at the moment. I mean, we already had, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we already had people from multiple countries and cultures with one common goal. We already had that. But then with the, Kevin Rudd and even the Liberals, two wings of the same bird, have slowly eroded that because people are governing for their voter base. So you look at Albo now, he's governing for his voter base, but he only gets 35% of the vote. So 35% of the population is getting 90% of the federal government's resources. And people like you and I don't know what listeners are voting or whatever, but that's essentially what's happening. He's ruling for the voter base. Same as the Victorian Labor, they're ruling for their voter base. They don't give a fuck about anybody else because they're not voting for them. Because it's they have a left-leaning sort of socialist attitude that the government is God. The government is the people who know better than you. There is no religion, there is no Christianity. It's the government. They welcome to fucking socialism. And the reason why I bring up Iran is because we're nowhere near that bad. But people like you and I and your listeners who have gone away and served your country, we now have to face up to the fact that the very people that we've gone overseas to fight against or serve against are actually fucking governing our country right now. There's the same sort of mindset, same sort of beliefs. So we either adjust to that, do something about it peacefully and sensibly. I'm not saying you fucking do anything ridiculous because you know better than them. But one of the things we need to accept is we can't just be, we need to be aware now and acknowledge what's happening. So we need to do that in our own lives, and then from there, acknowledge it as a society and as a cohesive sort of functioning society. One, so that we can stop what's happening with, the oppressive leftist governments, really. But also so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Because the Labor Party wasn't always a mad oppressive government. And I used to vote Labor, but now, no fucking way.
Yeah, it's interesting, bro. Like watching, talking about like the dictatorships and, the perceived choice or lack of choice.
Yes, exactly.
I'm watching the US, and I want to get back to you in a minute, but this is an interesting point. I'm watching the US at the moment. They had this, like the last sort of couple of governments have been there equivalent of our Labor government. So like
Yeah.
what they would call Liberal, we would call Labor. And yeah, they're a bit crazy. They're a bit out there, you know, all the gender stuff and woke stuff and whatever. Then Donald Trump comes along, makes this big fucking course correction, you know, wipes out a bunch of that crazy shit that they did.
Yeah.
And I think he was really good for that. And I think a government like his is good for course correction and change.
Yeah.
But I think I feel like he's leaning into that overcorrection.
Yeah.
Where there'll be an equal response from the other side. So when I look at the US, for example, I don't think we're anywhere near that. But when I look at the US, they're doing this big correction, and I think they've probably corrected enough, and they need to start, you know, maintain their fucking course. Because a guy like Donald Trump, he's a change agent. Yeah. Same as guys like Elon Musk. His government, they're all agents of change, and they're good. They're agents of chaos.
Yeah.
But they thrive in the chaos. You know, you need to get them out of there and get somebody a bit more level-headed and stable to keep them going in that corrected course. Because if you keep going, then the lefties are going to have an equal reaction, and they're going to do some more wild shit. And these guys are going to do more wild shit.
Pendulum.
Yeah. It seems like it's almost starting to swing that other direction.
You can go too far.
Too far in both directions, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't think we've had in my lifetime, I'm 50 in June, so I've been around a while, but obviously not a while. I'm long enough to know. I don't think we've had a real right-wing government. Maybe, what was his name? Johnny Howard, but that's not. Right-wing is real populist. Like, you know, manufacturing in Australia, only things that fly is Australian flags. Everyone speaks English. You know, we all fucking smash it up on Australia Day. It's Anzac Day is everything. You know, it's very, which is cool. I'm okay with that. But then it's also, you don't speak English, you get thrown out. So right wing would be White Australia policy.
Yeah.
So back then, it was called the White Australia policy, but it wasn't officially named that. So what would happen is the people who wanted to come to Australia from like India or, you know, Uzbekistan or wherever, the customs dude would go, right, you need to write down 40 words in a European language. They'd choose English, and if they couldn't do it, they weren't allowed to enter Australia, or they weren't allowed to stay. Hence, the only people who could remain were white people because they knew the English language. So if an Indian dude comes from Mumbai, I don't fucking know. So hence why they call it the White Australia policy, because only people who could get in were the dudes who knew English quite well, you know, 100 years ago or however much. There was no internet. So if you couldn't do 40 words, and the customs dude couldn't see that it was, you know, pretty good, then you weren't allowed in. We weren't allowed to stay.
Or you get the ones who are very educated, probably highly skilled.
So it wasn't only white people could stay. It was whether or not you knew the language. That was the way they did it. So it wasn't so much only white people, but that's an example of, you know, a right-wing populist type government. I don't think we've had that. With this dude here now, these guys are they're fucking socialists, mate. Just because you don't mention it. Like, if you understand, they're fucking, especially down in Victoria, it's Victoristan. You know, when I was at uni, I had to do my first 300 hours of counselling, and I went to a Victorian university, but I got to do it via Zoom. And so my clients were in Victoria, and I would just tell them, you need to get out of Victoria, because if the environment is what's causing your anxiety or distress, then remove yourself from the environment and see how you go. And a couple of them left Victoria for a couple of weeks, came back, I'm so refreshed. So it could either be because you've refreshed after a couple of weeks off, or it could be because you've left Victoria, either or. But everyone that left and came back was like, yeah, I realised that it's a shithole.
Yeah, I couldn't live in Melbourne, man. Nice to visit, you know, go to a couple of nice restaurants or whatever. But hey, bro, I want to dial way back. We skimmed over a lot of stuff there, man, because you know a lot of stuff when you're like, obviously very, what I would consider traumatic, high impact childhood. Straight into a lot of service-based stuff, which is obviously going to get to New South Wales Cops, Federal Police, done 2 Commando stuff where you and I are working together.
Oh, yeah, yep.
But back to when you were a kid and you talk about that stuff with your stepdad and whatnot. I mean, that's pretty hairy stuff, man. Like, that's no fucking joke. I mean, you know, I had a pretty I wouldn't say I have a rough childhood. I had a lot of violence in my childhood in the family home, but I never had my fucking leg broken. I got some bumps and bruises and whatnot, but
I'm kind of okay with it now.
yeah, I mean, how common was, obviously not a leg break, but how common was that type of stuff in your house?
Oh, that was daily.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, so especially if we live in caravans. So caravans aren't very wide. Probably a bit wider than a caribou if you've ever been on one, I guess. But yeah, you'd get thrown from one side to the other if it was bad. So Georgina was born to my first stepfather, Alan, and then I was born to my dad. The problem is I didn't always get to see my dad because we were moving around so much. So I was listed as a missing person, would you believe? And I was Joshua Bailey, and then Mum changed my name to Joshua Harrison. And then when I joined the AFP, I had to get a security clearance. And the dude's like, "You're listed as a missing person still. You're Joshua Harrison."
Shit.
And so I was found. I was actually found when I joined the Air Marshals program when they went through, because they did massive vetting, and they kind of went, "You're fucking found." But then they never took me off the list. And then I was in 2004 or whatever, went through vetting again, and the dude's like, "Mate, you've been found." Fuck. Okay. We can tick you off the list.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back, baby.
So I was listed as a missing person. And you'd think the AFP would be like, "Fuck, man, that's cool." But no, they were spewing because it was embarrassing for them. Like, "This guy's missing." No, he's actually working for us.
He's come and knocked on your door. Yeah.
Anyway, fuck, whatever. But yes, the bum move around because what happened is the magistrate, the first court appearance, said because he only had New South Wales jurisdiction, so he said, "Rod Harrison, you're not allowed near this bloke. It's Joshua Bailey, you're not allowed, the stepfather, Rod Harrison, not allowed near him." So we fucked off to Queensland, where there's no jurisdiction. And that's where we ended up on a farm, and the rest is history. I mean, I remember him punching me a few times to get winded. That's where I first got winded. I didn't realize what was happening. Because I couldn't breathe, he would laugh at me. And so that sort of instilled that I probably wasn't good enough. Fair enough. And then, broke my leg. I went to stand up. Couldn't stand up.
How did he break it? He's like kick you or something? Or
no, so he come up with these ideas that punishment, because you weren't allowed to dob on your siblings or whatever. And Rod said, "What happened there?" And I can't remember exactly what it was. So there's a chair. He faced me towards the wall, and I had my knees on the chair, and he twisted my foot.
Oh,
twisted, and then I heard this crack. I thought, "Oh fuck, he's hit my mum." So I spun around, and Mum's crying, and I was like, "Fuck." I went to get up, fell over, and I realised.
So yeah, the two bones in the bottom part of your foot. Oh, there's the
bottom, so the fib
and
the tib and fib.
Tib and fib, that's the one. Yeah,
they broke in a spiral.
Fucking hell.
So it's 6. Yeah, broke in a spiral.
Wow.
Yeah. And so back then, so it was 1984. I was just told, "You fell down the stairs." That's all that fucking happened. So I just went, "I fell down the stairs." Yeah, whatever. Because there was already a history of me telling. It was always a woman that would show up from child services or whatever. "Oh no, it's fine. I'm okay." So if I saw a white ute, which is what they drove, I would hide under the bed because I'm not here.
What, on instruction from your parents? Far
yeah. And oh yeah, no worries. So then I got up after he broke it, and I couldn't walk. And then Rod's like, "Oh, fucking too bad," type thing. I was like, "Oh, fuck, no worries." Anyway, I went to hospital, and I had like mad cast up to the thigh twice.
And you were 6?
7.
Wow,
I think
man.
I was 7.
Wow.
Yeah, 7. Yeah. I remember my dad visited me just before that happened, and he gave me this mad Scalextric set with all these cars and stuff, and Rod got jealous because I was playing with it, and he fucking tore it up. And because my dad worked at Wallerawang Power Station, so he's only good coin, and he gave me this fucking car set. It was $99. I still remember the price. So back in 1984's money, that's big.
That's like a few hundred now, probably, I imagine.
Yeah. Anyway, he just fucking broke it up and got the shits, so I couldn't use it again.
Oh, and then
back in that house, we had an outside dunny, so you had to go outside. You had to go down the stairs and outside and shit. So it was pretty daunting. The whole thing was just fucking daunting. In the end, we moved to Ipswich Caravan Park. And then mum, so the story goes, wrote a letter, because back then you write letters to grandma, and said, you better get Josh out of there because shit's getting real. So they turned up in a white ute. I'm like, fuck. But it was like an olden ute or something. And then I originally was meant to go for 2 weeks and then never went back because a court case happened, and I just went and lived with my grandparents ever after that. Yeah.
So how old you? Would about 7, 8 then? I think you
I
said.
think I was about 8. So I think I was transitioning. It might have been 8 when I remember. Yeah, I was definitely like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now the old one thong.
Yeah.
Walk around with that now. But I wear orthotics now. But most people, orthotics, fuck, it happens. Yeah, so that was that. And then I had to go and visit a couple of times. And Georgina was there. I saw her. She was in a bad way because Rod was just a fuckwit. And then they had twins. So Mum and Rod had twins, Ben and Tess. Fast forward a few years to 2004, Ben died in a drink driving accident.
Ooh.
Yeah, the guy was driving from memory and Ben crashed and he had a concave in his head. And so I had to drive up to Newcastle. And I'm not sure if it's still the same, but the New South Wales government will keep you alive as long as fucking possible if you're a donor. But Ben was 19, he was a donor, so they kept him alive until either the most senior next of kin or the parents say, yeah, we've signed it off. And Mum couldn't do that. And Rod was nowhere to be fucking seen. So I had to go up there to Newcastle and sign to say, turn the life support off and, harvest his organs.
How old were you?
2004. So 27. I was turning 28 in June. So a couple of months after that, I went to the AFP college.
Wow.
So I was doing a Krav Maga instructor's course at the time with a guy called Carl Halley, who runs, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, some of your listeners may have heard of him. So doing the Krav Maga law enforcement instructor course, there's a guy called Itai Gil came out from Israel, and he's Israelis, just fucking tough. Like, not quick enough, Josh. For some reason, my name has like several fucking syllables. Josh. I'm like, yeah, right, mate, cheers. Not quick enough, burst, you must burst in. And he'd be like, are you hurt? Are you injured? I don't give a shit. They got insurance. It's like, fucking Jesus, So I had to stop that, drive to Newcastle, sign the forms, and then they harvest, mate. From the time they turn the thing off, fucking bang, they're already slicing and dicing, corneas, the whole fucking lot.
Wow, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's in my mind, that sounds like a bit of a full stop, so to speak, on your family situation up to that point. Obviously nothing in fucking life is that linear, but it sounds like fuck, man. So that's a really intense childhood, mate, for up to the age of 8, which, as you know, is like the formative years of your personality, your subconscious, your emotional regulation, everything. Like that's life up to 8 years old, right?
Well, it gets even a bit fucking stranger. So what would backtrack to when I was 7 or 8, living in caravan parks. Rod would he was concerned we weren't getting enough sleep or whatever the fuck it was. Anyway, we'd wake up, we'd have to go and see him, and he'd have to look in our eyes to see whether we had sleep in our eyes to see whether we'd slept enough. That's the shortest shit that would go on, So that's what that's the sort of shit we put up with. So yeah, we and before that though, I'd lost my thongs. We went to a person's house. Went to a person's house. They were friends of like Mum and Rod's, and they had kids as well. And there was a trampoline. I left my thongs at the trampoline. So Rod's like, because thongs back then were shoes. You didn't have thongs. You had no fucking shoes, and they were poor as fuck. So he goes, look at me. And I looked at him, and he went fucking crack and knocked my 2 front teeth out. Now, I went to the dentist the other day, gold card holder. I don't go to the fucking dentist, I suppose. Anyway, the first thing the dentist says is, mate, did you lose those teeth when you were younger? I was like, yeah, man. He goes, I can tell by the colouring, and they did x-rays, and they're like, man, one of those teeth is dead. And I was like, well, it looks pretty alive to me. I'm fucking using it, But yeah, he knocked him out and then put him back in straight away. Knocked him out. I remember him looking at him and put him back in straight away. So it took until I met Tracy, my now wife, at 33, until I could wear thongs again. Because I was like, fuck. kind of a bit off the old thong thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I got buck teeth. So I got paid out for having buck teeth when I was a kid, and what was it? I was adopted and shit. But yeah, fuck, everyone gets paid out for something, you know. That happens.
No, I was just going to say, I wanted to highlight a bit of that because obviously later we're going to talk about psychology and stuff.
Yeah.
But something I'm always talking to people about, like I don't take clients, so to speak, but I do work with a lot of people. I'm always trying to explain to them the significance of childhood, and some of the people I speak to, man, have had some of the most fucking horrendous childhood acts you've ever heard of, and they're just like, you know, whatever, it's just when I was a kid or whatever. And I'm like, let's look at your behavior and fucking, you know, let's backtrain this thing, XXXX, Y. That's come from your childhood, man. Like, you know, like some of these maladaptive behaviors.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure we kind of highlighted that for the, like, you know, but for the purpose of the audience, man, because I think our kind of people, man, that have, you know, rough childhoods, particularly violence, things like low self-worth and stuff, we go looking for service jobs. We go looking for, you know, finding worth and community and significance in those kind of places, man.
That's true. Well, I know when I was doing selection, we were treated like shit, and I was just used to it from when I was I had exposure to it, prolonged exposure to it back when I was young anyway. So for me, it was just, fucking no worries. But a couple of guys who had come from their, you know, well-to-do backgrounds, they were struggling because they just weren't used to being not treated so well.
Yeah.
Like, oi, fuckheads, pick this up and travel 1 kilometre up that hill, and I don't give a fuck if you got a limp or a broken ankle or whatever, just fucking keep going. You know, you kind of get used to, you're like, I've had this before.
Yeah.
And off you go. Because ultimately, if you're on a close selection course, it's got to end sometime, and they're going to need you at the end. Otherwise, why are they selecting you? The big thing about going on selection is the silence. When you first get there, everyone's fucking unsure. So it's the silence and the uncertainty until you really get going is what people are really worried about, as you know.
Yeah, the anxiety stuff, you're making things up. Yeah.
Yep. You're standing there and people are like, that guy looks pretty tough. Look at his beret. Fuck, that's pretty smooth. You know, oh, this guy wants to do something. Fuck, right. Oh, I'm in with this guy. I've never met this guy before, and I've got to fucking do something with this dude. Who are these dudes? And this guy's a better swimmer than me. This guy's a better runner. What have I got to offer? Fuck, my best mate's just left. Holy shit, do I stay? You know, you kind of, if you have a childhood where you've only got yourself, then you're going to be okay on selection because you've only really got yourself, you know, so to an extent. So, yeah, I lived in a women's refuge for a while, Mum and I and Georgina. And one thing I noted was that other people who lived there as well, the husbands or the husbands or whatever would come around and they'd steal the kids. The mum would go out and the kids would be babysat, but the kids would be fucking gone. And he's like, fuck.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but they gave me good Christmas presents. I got really good Christmas presents that year, like in 83, 84, and I was 83. Yeah, really good Christmas. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, fuck, this is pretty cool. Yeah. But I am focusing a lot on the childhood and Georgina because as we get into the reason why I left the AFP, it's going to become paramount.
Yeah. And I want to, because you went to New South Wales Police first.
No.
Oh, other way around.
I went to the AFP. I didn't do New South Wales.
Oh,
no.
Man, for some reason, you know what? I just fucking had Samps on Monday. He went from New South to Feds, and I'm just fucking making shit up now.
Well, he's better looking than me, so I can see what.
Well, I confuse you guys. You guys look exactly the same.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I kept making up the New South Wales thing in my head. I was fucking putting it on you. But yeah, obviously, you know, that kind of childhood leads into a lot of that service mod stuff, and you've done fireys, you've done air marshals, you know, you go to the AFP, like
went to the Solomons as well. One of the things we've been talking about before, just for the listeners, before we start the podcast, we're talking about people buying water just in case. Well, one of the reasons why I like to have water at home is because in the Solomons, they ran out of water. This is in fucking February in the Solomon Islands. Sorry, we have no water. So ever since then, if the weather gets shit, which it is today, we've got like 2 cases of water at home.
Yeah.
I've been through, for the last 15 years, I've been through disasters in Australia, New Zealand, been in 4 nationally significant like floods. So I've seen a fair bit, and so I'm like, we need to be prepared. The water's never gone out where we live, but we had to go without water in the Solomons. And this is like on operate. This is like, 2004. So it's back in the early days when shit could go bad.
Yeah, it was less stable.
Yeah. So yeah. But the Solomons was interesting in the sense that it could be really boring or it could be quite fuck, shit's getting real. The people, they have no qualms about just going, you know what, not happy. So I'm going to express myself through fucking setting. They got smart and when I was there, they set the hardware store on fire because it's got all the paint in it.
And you were there, is this when you were there with?
This is when I was there with the
Air
APS.
Marshals?
Yeah, the APS. So it wasn't, I'd left the Air Marshals and went to the the Solomon Islands. Yep. There's a couple of other ASOs over there as well. There's like a group of us who'd left and then fucking went over there. Yeah, they'd set the fucking thing on fire and we ended up having to do like a riot control. And there's no light over there because everything went down and we had no. You know how New South Wales police had a few issues on the weekend with the pro-Palestinian fucking squeezers? Well, shit like that would go on, but there's no lighting. You don't have any fucking. We had a baton, cuffs. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
There were no shields. And so,
the best defense is a good offense.
Yeah. So, they ended up calming down, but it wasn't massive. But the Solomons was pretty. It wasn't long after that. One of the APS guys, unfortunately, was he died over there. Got shot. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm just trying to cast my mind back. I would have been too young.
Adam Dunning.
Yeah, okay.
And John Colley was the driver. I used to work with John Colley in Sydney. And he was the driver, and rounds went through the back of the vehicle, SLR rounds, so 7.62, and went through his fucking. I think it went one round went through the actual steering wheel, broke the steering wheel. Yeah, I think. But where he got killed was a place called the Borderline. So you'd have to go there with 2 vehicles because it was really dangerous. So it was on the border, as explained to me, it was on the border of Keke and Rastus. So Keke held Honiara, the urban area, and Rastus held the sort of terrain behind that, which is a bit like outside your place where it's like hilly and inaccessible and stuff. And it's quite dangerous. So we'd have to go there at a specific time, do a U-turn, do a 3-point turn. Someone would watch them do that so they didn't get shot. And then you would do the same thing. You'd have to watch what was happening. And then unfortunately, as they were driving away, a guy with an SLR came out. And then earlier on, I didn't know this, but earlier on that day, the same bloke they think has fired a round through a Army Rover. They found a round through a hole through one of the Rovers, yeah.
Is this whilst you were there as well?
No. So that was December. So I was I think I just finished the AFP college. I was just in my 19th, 20th year. I mean, week. Sorry, you do 20 weeks back then. My mate Doug, he told me. Yeah. And then 2006, it kicked off again in the Solomons and also in Timor.
Yeah.
It was just volatile. You know, it was like fucking stepfather would just go off and you're like, fuck it, with this now, you know. But other than that, I think I drank a lot in the Solomons. Yeah. Yep. You hear some wild stories. And I just want to let everyone know, no, I didn't get arrested for drunk and disorderly in the Solomons. That is fucking legit. That didn't happen.
That sounds like a guilty conscience.
Someone hit me up and said, did you get arrested for drunk and disorderly in the Solomons? Fucking no.
As in like when you were in the cops, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, okay. Yeah,
so the lady who did my vetting, Tony, she goes, did you get arrested for drunk and disorderly Solomons? I said, no. Did you sure? Would have been there. No,
yeah,
okay.
I couldn't possibly. I was missing.
Yeah, fuck. Anyway.
Yeah, right. All right. So, yeah, you've done solis with the APS. Excuse me if I fuck up some of these acronyms, man.
No, it doesn't matter.
Back down different now, yeah. And then you've gone AFP. Why'd you go AFP?
Needed a job.
Okay.
Well, actually, I got accepted into WA police at the same time. So a lot of dudes from the ASOs had got accepted in the AFP proper, and I went, oh, fuck, I'll just apply and see what happens. Because the APS was I'd gone as far as I'd been overseas twice. I'd done the air marshals. There's only so much walking around Sydney Airport I'd really want to do. It's a pretty fucking lonely job. So I applied for WA, got accepted into them and got accepted in the AFP. But the AFP rang on the Thursday and the WA guys rang on the Tuesday. Had it been the other way around, I would have fucked off to WA.
Yeah.
So I just I was like, oh, I'll just go down to Canberra. Fucking sweet. So I'd broken up with my then fiance, 2003. So I'd broken up with her and she kind of just went, toodles, I'm out of here. And I was like, fuck, okay, no worries. And then I went to the Solomons, got back, and my life, I was living with a mate, renting. So I needed stability in my life to sort of, get back, because I was 28, not mad old, but old enough to try and get some stability and settle down.
Yeah, make some decisions and stuff.
Yeah. So I went down to the AFP college. Canberra's an interesting place. I don't know if you got any listeners from Canberra, and I don't mean to offend you, but
your city sucks.
Yes. Yeah. Full of public servants, full of fucking public servants. Like they could be from some backwater fucking department like the Murray River left-handed screwdriver fucking department or something. And they'd be like, well, I'm a fucking EL1 or an APS 6. I'm fucking cool. Mate, no one cares. No one gives a shit. The problem is that if you don't want to hang out with other AFP people, then you got to hang out with public servants because they're fucking everywhere. And I'm sure they all mean well, and I don't mean to be negative. So I'll sort of nip it in the bud there, and I'm sure your listeners can get the gist of my feelings towards Canberra without guessing. But yeah, that's Canberra.
Yeah.
Fucking freezing in winter and hot as fuck in the summer. Basically, for any of the guys from the US listening, think of it like Washington, where it's just or Canada. I think it's Ottawa is the cap.
I've done Washington, yeah, and Washington was like a much better Canberra. Yeah,
but essentially, it's just a public servant. I like to think in today's technology world, it's supernumerary. You don't fucking need it. You could literally just have dudes all around Australia on their laptops working from home, and then fucking off you go.
Yeah.
You might need a Parliament House. Yep, down with that. We do. Outside of that, mate, your fucking left-handed screwdriver, backwatered fucking EL1 fucking position, mate, you can do that from Dubbo.
Yeah, yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I did notice that. I don't say my partner's name on the
No, that's
stuff, by the way, but
okay. Yeah.
she obviously used to work down there.
Yep.
And when I used to go and see her when we first got together and stuff.
Mm.
And yeah, man, like everywhere you went, it was mostly cops in uniform or some sort of like suit and tie sort of people. And she was always explaining what the ASO, is that what's called? What's the acronym? The public servant acronym? APS or something?
Oh, yeah. Australian Public Service.
Yeah.
APS.
All the different types of APS and stuff and this weird like social structure thing they got.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed very corporate, political, and it was a bit strange to me, man. And I was like, this doesn't seem like a fun town. Plus it was cold as shit and it looks like some Russian, like, I don't know, Soviet era city. Everything's a big concrete block building. It's just fucking horrible, man. Yeah, I can't stand it.
So the interesting you mentioned about the structure, I went out with a lady, Cass, who was a lawyer. And the relationship dissolved and I wish her well. I'm sure she's very capable, very lovely lady, I'm sure she's doing well. But she was a lawyer and she was an APS 6. So that's kind of sits between the EL1 that's kind of decent. Like I think it's like maybe a major level type dude, maybe because they have equivalencies. So an APS, so if you're a corporal, I think you're an APS 2, and if you're a sergeant, you're an APS 3, something like that, right? So anyway, with Cass, she's like, you can't ask what APS level they are because it equates to the money they're getting. And some people are bitter because Johnny might be a 5 and then Dave's in 1 and Dave's got a degree and Johnny has a master's and Johnny's been in for more and Dave had to reapply for his position. They're fucking serious. And then when I went and watched her friends play netball and I cheered, she goes, no, there's no cheering. You do not cheer. You just sit there and I was like, yeah, man, this is fucking real cool.
Can we stay in Canberra, please?
Yeah, she ended up going to Britain, doing like UK stuff over there as a lawyer. Quite competent. I'm glad she got out of the other public service. Probably some corporate lawyer now. I don't know. I wish her well. Interesting to see what she's doing now. But yeah, what you're talking about there, the structure and what you can and can't ask big, you have to learn it. Yeah, yeah. So I basically rate Canberrans is no cares, concessions, or concerns. So they don't care about how they affect everybody else. They're not concerned about how someone else feels. And they'll never concede when they're wrong, where they can do something better. As long as you understand that, you'll love Canberra.
Yeah. And you like the cold and not going anywhere. Yeah.
It's fucking freezing. It'd be in Australia. It's like -3 sometimes. That's just fucking ridiculous. It's un-Australian.
So you went from Queensland. Were you living in Queensland, then went down?
Sydney.
Oh,
I was at Sydney Airport.
Okay, yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah, of course, because you were doing the air marshal stuff. Yeah. So you went from there down to Canberra, and then you've done the 20-week college.
Yeah. And I ended up at Wardens police station.
Hence where you worked with my partner.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's all right. I'll mark it. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just beep it. I'll just mark the little clip on the thing.
Sorry.
No, mate, literally the first podcast I ever did with my mate Soggy, he said it like 10 times.
Okay.
Both, like, said my daughter's name and stuff.
Oh,
I was like, are you spastic?
Yeah.
And he's like, sorry, man. So I just went through and like, boop, boop. But I was thinking about it today. I was like, oh, man, because I know we'll bring it up. Oh, I don't give, I'll keep all this in the potty, but I'll just, boop.
Still recording.
Yeah, still going.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, we did work together. Yes. So I think she might have been a course or two after me, though. Not that that matters. It really doesn't. Yeah, I was FBDP 104, which is like you turned up in 2004. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And I went to Wodin. Wodin is basically, it has all the embassies and has the Parliament House in it.
Oh, okay.
That jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And it's got like all the safe houses that AJ don't want you to know about. Well, they're all in fucking Woden area, you know, shit, poorly kept secret, like fucking righto fuckheads. But they've got that's because it's a very well-to-do area, and it's not, and the Prime Minister's house is there as well.
Okay.
Just as you cross the bridge. Yep.
But I know in Canberra that they've like injected a lot of like housing commission stuff in amongst that type of suburb as well, right? So it's this real eclectic mix.
10% of the population must be social housing. Now I've lived in social housing when I was living with mum, and I had to live in caravan parks. So I'm not going to judge anyone, but the issue is that people come from interstate to Canberra because they know that they can get social housing there, and then they continue their drug habit. They get in with all the other people. They drive around unregistered, steal cars. They do all that sort of shit. So they're not contributing. They're just living their same life from other places. You know, it's quite sad that in a country like Australia, we have to have parts of society that aren't as well off or aren't as fortunate as, say, you and I or your listeners, you know. But that doesn't give people the right to go away and commit offences and beat up your wife and beat up your kids and shit. You know, when we were living in housing commission homes, we never fucking did that. But I'm not here to judge. That happens, and that's what the police are for, to try their best to fucking clean it up, bring light to the darkness, you know.
Yeah.
But there is an incredible amount of social housing there. My jurisdiction had Stewart Flats. So Stewart Flats back then was one of the highest crime rates in Australia, really, that particular housing complex, because they were old government housing, and then they gave them away, and they're now social housing now. So the idea was that the public servants would live there and they'd go back to their hometown after they did this shit. So, yeah, Stewart Flats was an interesting place. Sometimes it was okay, and other times it was, job on. I turned up one day and a guy, he'd stabbed his mate because he wanted money for a bottle of Coke. And he owed him $50 from a drug deal. So he fucking stabbed him in the arm.
Shit.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Said no one ever. Yeah, and some of their stories, I mean, I remember this one girl, I met her 3 times, and every time I met her, I arrested her for an offence. And so she was beaten up so much that she had to use eyeliner or whatever it was, to fill in her eyelashes because she had no eyelashes left because they just got fucking beaten up. It's quite a sad story. So what she would do, she got anxious or nervous or whatever, she'd spit at you because men were bad. So I, of course, turned up and it's the third time I met her. Like, hello, how are you? And she spat on me. Anyway, I'm like, oh, fair enough. And the guy I was with, he's only not very, he was only like not very tall and skinny. And the bloke I was with thought he was a hero. He grabs her, throws her on the ground, handcuffs her and shit. Like, well done, man. She spat on me because she doesn't like blokes and she's fucking hell, mate. You know, but the problem with being spat on is you have to leave the spit on there and take photos as evidence and stuff.
Ugh.
You know, being spat on and spat at are two different things. You kind of learn that. But it was a bit of a shame for her. I think she got remanded in the end, but it was like,
remanded. What's that? Sorry.
You get arrested and you're remanded in custody. You go to like a detention center.
Oh,
For
okay.
your next court date. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a bit sad, but she hung out at Stuart Flats a bit. Yeah. I mean, there was this one time that there was a fire, and this is interesting in the sense that we arrived to this fire. We called it the Wall of Shit. It was at Mawson, the Great Wall of Shit, and your missus might be able to fill you in on this fucking place. We turn up, and there's black smoke like billowing the zest and exuberance from this fucking flat, right?
Zest and exuberance. I'm fucking writing that down.
Anyway, there's this dude out the front. He's practicing golf. I'm like, hey, man, what's up? He goes, they're my bridges. I burnt them. I went, what? He goes, I burnt them. They're my bridges. And he's just practicing his golf swing. And I knew this bloke from the week before, and the tactical response team already knew this bloke because there was a siege and he was the dude responsible, you know, fucking blah, blah. And it was like a small camera. So it was like a small time sort of hostages taken, siege type shit.
And he's out a week later?
No. It's like a year ago.
Oh, gotcha.
The police indices are like, yeah, this dude's, he's done this, he's done that. And I'd met him a week before. So we'd done like a check on him and we knew inside there was gas bottles, there was containers of diesel and stuff in there. And I'm like, yeah, righto, man. So this is fucking cool. Anyway, a week later he turns up and his flat's on fire, owned by his parents. And he's like, they're my bridges. I burnt them. I'm like, yeah, I get that, mate. Fucking what? Did you light this fire? He's like, yes. I'm like, sweet. Anyway, we go evacuate people because there's stairways in and out because it's flats, right? So like a 2-story, 3-story flats. Anyway, the flames are pretty intense. You couldn't, it weren't close enough to feel the heat, but you could hear the noise, the billowing fucking noise. Anyway, he decides, you know what, you're not going near the flats. And he tries to fucking hit us with a golf club. I'm like, no, not today. So the guy I was with, Singo, he's fucking, we've handcuffed him, take the golf club off him. And then because you have to, if someone's in custody, you can't just leave him in the car and just come back later. So Singo's had to watch this dude and I've had to go and evacuate everyone. This is like 2-story. I think it was about 54 flats I had to go around. But luckily for me, as cool as it sounds, a lot of people were at work. So it wasn't massive that I had to, you know, save the day and leap and all that. So no, it was just me knocking on doors. The place is still fucking burning. We turn up and the fireys are like, oh, the police are here already. This is fucking embarrassing. So the place is well alight and you could hear small explosions going, which might have been like, it might have been shaving cream bottles. I don't fucking know. But I knew that there was gas bottles in there because I'd been there the week before. Your like barbecue gas bottles. And we knew that there was diesel in there as well. You have to bring diesel to a decent temperature, I think, from memory before it explodes. Anyway, fuck, whatever. The radio, that was a black spot. So I couldn't call anyone. So the fireys turned up and they had to relay my information through the fireys radio to them. So they're like, this is pretty urgent. We can't do any chin-ups. We better put this fire out. And so they went to do like a front attack type thing where they cool the window down and then they were going to go through the door. Anyway, they're in their gear and I walked up this dude and he kind of looks at me like, you can't go in there because there's gas bottles in there. Anyway, they had to stand outside and just cool the windows down and cool it down. Anyway, they went in and the gas bottle had expanded like an egg shape, and then there was the gas bottle had like blisters, and it was bright red.
Oh, wow.
And one of the dudes come up and he's like this. He goes, "I've never seen anything like that." He was shaking afterwards. He goes, "Thanks for, if you hadn't have told us, we would have bounced on in there."
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's very chance that it would have exploded. Anyway, we found SLR rounds and magazine. What he'd done is he'd booby trapped the cupboard doors, and it had diesel. So diesel would fall down on you when you open up the thing, and they from a rail they fall down on you. And then there was like an initiation. We think there was like a incendiary initiation, so you'd light on fire and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty full on.
Was he competent at that stuff, or was it was just some
Dunno.
makeshift Boy Scout shit?
I think that's what's happened is he was setting it up and then fucked it.
And then he's gone outside
Yeah.
playing a cool.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I meant to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we found explosive residue in there as well. Well, I didn't find it, but the fireys or the forensic dudes found stuff in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in 06. Yeah. He got a mental health order or something. I don't know. It was
I
something.
could imagine.
Yeah, he's just casually out the front. Yeah, man, playing golf. Fucking what?
Yeah, I bet my bridges.
There was another dude. He so this was another place in Woden. I can't remember where, one of the fucking suburbs. Anyway, this guy comes running up the hallway with a Gurkha knife. We've knocked on the door because he had a mental health treatment order. So the mental health dudes were going to take him into custody for the purpose of a mental health assessment under the Mental Health Act. So they called the police. The guy didn't fucking tell me that he'd already hit his wife with a
Cookery, is it called?
I'm not sure. He'd hit his wife with a fucking club or something.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Gurkha one, yeah.
No, this is different. So she's left. He's knocked on the door and he's threatened him, right? Anyways, I'll tell you why afterwards. He's closed the door and he's gone, "I'm going to tell the cops." We turn up. The dude just goes, "Here's a mental health treatment order. Fucking off you go." And I'm like, "The guy's a bit fucking, he's not very pleasant." We open up the door. He sees us and he runs away. We can't get in because the mattress is against the door, which is mattresses don't go up against the front door. But by this time you're in the police, you're kind of used to that shit. Yeah, fuck, whatever. Anyway, we hear this stomping up the hallway and he's got a knife. The bloke who I'm with pushes me out of the way and I'm like, "Knife." So I spray him with OC and then he slams the door. Okay. The offender.
Oh, yeah.
So the guy I'm with goes, "Knife," pushes me out of the way to get past down the stairs. And then I'm standing there. There's nowhere for me to go because behind me is a black brick wall. Like it's a brick wall. So the stairs is, you go up like 3 stairs and then you can't see the front door because there's brick walls that are covering it. So you have nowhere to go. And I was kind of thinking, this is a bit fucking dodgy.
Oh, sorry to get this straight. Your partner tried to push past you to
He did push
get
past.
away.
Yep.
Oh.
Because he goes, "Knife, knife, knife." And I'm like, "What?" And he's pushed me out of the road. And then I've gone, fuck, because I could see his eyes. And then I saw the knife and I've given him the Oscar Charlie. And then he shut the door. So I'm like, okay, let's just recap this. I've knocked on the door. He's opened it. He's run away. We can't get in because there's a bed. Then he's run back with a knife. So he's obviously gone back to get a knife. My partner's a fucking brave cunt who's pushed me out of the way. I've used OC. Now I've closed the door. Now I've got a negotiated surrender happening. Cool. That's awesome. The reason why the dude who was worked for the like community services or whatever, and he was pretty standoffish with me, is because I'd arrested him before for an offence called refused to quit. So he was going through a bad marriage. He refused to leave his wife's house. I've said, "Mate, come with us." "Righto, mate, you're out of the house. You may as well just go and just don't come back." No, he wanted to make a statement, had to take him to the watch house for trespass, refused to quit. He had to go to court. So he sees me, doesn't tell me what's happened, just goes, "There you go, mate."
Nice.
Motherfucker.
Future.
So there was that. And then what they found in there was a whole heap of weapons and stuff and a massive cannabis sort of plantation in his shed. And so he was smoking the reefer because he was schizophrenic and off his meds. He was thinking that there were a bunch of ninjas doing road work out the front and that his wife was sleeping with the ninjas.
Wow.
Hence why he beat up his wife,
Oh,
and she
shit.
fucked off down to Tuggeranong. We turn up to Tuggeranong in the house. We park in the driveway, and she says, "Jimmy, you're fucking Canberra. I don't want the police in my driveway. We might be in trouble. Then what will the neighbours think?" And I'm thinking to myself, hashtag machete, bitch, fuck you. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
gherkin knife. It's the same sort of thing, We ended up, the TR boys turned up. They ended up negotiating, getting him out and arresting him. It ended up fine, but I was like, fuck off. You're like, anyway. Yeah, so that was that.
Only a week ago, like on Monday, I was chatting to Semps, like his basically his first couple of weeks, stabbed and almost killed.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fucking out of control.
An aged weapon. Like the only difference between your story and Jace's one is that didn't fucking go through you, but it very well could have. I think that's near misses.
Well, it's
have
quite
potential for anything.
He was, when people use they're trying to get you. When they go like that, they're saying get away from me. So he was doing this, and then he slammed the door. I was like, that's fucking weird. I'm gonna go talk to this cunt who just pushed me out of the way. What a fucking coward, you fuckhead. I wasn't happy with that. He was from Canberra, so you expect nothing less, really. But yeah. So anyway, he got a corrections order or something. They broke up, and he'd beaten her up pretty badly. I went and saw his I think it was his wife, and she was in a bad way. But I didn't really like the intro of, you parked in the driveway. Where else am I going to park, mate? Anyway. That's just their attitude, though, is image, status, very status driven.
Yeah.
Status before need. That's why Canberrans aren't the most polite fucking people. And I think that's an entrenched part of that culture. Each area has their own culture. Some people are happy with it, others aren't. Who are we to judge? You could live with me for a week and go, that guy's weird, or you could say he's fucking amazing. We each have our own idiosyncrasies, and I didn't really think much of it, especially after you'd go through some serious life events and they just be like, oh, fucking so what? But one of the probably the most serious one I had was a car accident I was in. It was what they call a motor vehicle accident. So for some reason, back in 2008 or back in the early sort of 2000s, it was a pretty blokey job. I don't know if it is now, and the women weren't allowed to drive. I'm like, oh no, blokes drive. So I gave the driver the keys. I said, you can drive. Yeah, sure, I'll drive. Yeah, fuck, whatever. I'll drive. I don't care. And so we get this call saying there's offenders on premises. And what that means is, fancy way of saying someone's trying to break in. So it was a childcare centre, I think. And then we're hooning down, I can't remember what road it was. Anyway, it matters not. We're driving down there and we get another call saying they're still trying to break in. So the second call is really, it's job on, especially when someone rings up and says, there's shots fired. Well, who else is wrong? No one else. Okay, is it real? But if there's like a shots fired call and 6 people ring, it's genuine.
Mm.
So anyway, with this particular job, someone's rung in again saying, someone's trying to break in. So I'm like, all right, sweet. So I'm the passenger seat, and Canberrans have an issue with allowing emergency services vehicles past them. They seem to think the police are coming. They're coming to take people's rights away. We won't let you past.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Anyway, this guy in his red car wouldn't let us past. Oh, yeah, no worries, fuck it. Anyway, so the driver, we'll just name her Jane, just give her a pseudonym, Jane. So Jane's gone, yeah, no worries. Tries to go on the inside, I think, from memory, and we hit the gutter and we start aquaplaning across. Yeah, we're doing about 120 in an 80 zone. But under urgent duty driving, rule 305, if it's reasonable, which it was, you're allowed to exceed the speed. So that's what we're doing. What you're not allowed to do, though, is have a crash, but fuck anyway, side issue. And so we're aquaplaning, and then we hit a sign, and then we hit a concrete pole. I've got photos I can show. Concrete pole, and the concrete pole comes down at such a velocity, it took the driver's side door off, and it actually shattered the steering wheel, sheared the steering wheel. And then we spun around again and then hit like a pine tree or something, come to rest in a tree. Anyway, the horn's going fucking ballistic. I look across and I'm like, and Jane, her eyes had changed colour. I was like, fuck, shit's got real. And she said, I can't move. Anyway, her right hand, she was missing. I'm like, people have 5 fingers, don't they? Like missing a couple of fingers.
Oh, shit.
The steering wheel had cut off. Yeah.
Wow.
Cut off a couple.
And that's a career ender, surely.
Yeah, I'll get onto that. Anyway, so I'm like, oh, shit's got real. Anyway, Tracy and I, my wife, now wife, we'd been together for 4 weeks. So not a massive fucking deal, but I'd met her in police communications. The radio doesn't work. I get out of the car because I had to kick my way out of the car because the car's kind of, it's going to need a lot of work before it drives again, like, you know. Anyway, it's an oblong as opposed to a normal fucking car now. Kicking my way out, my radio gets fucking caught and I'm running towards the nearest cross street so that I can give the ambos and the fireys a cross street. The problem was we just hit the fucking sign. So I'm like, there's no sign. I see the sign, Williamson Street. I'm like, no worries. Anyway, I ring 000. Tracy, my wife, answers. Hi, hon, how are you? I don't have time for that shit, Tracy. We've just crashed. And you could hear the horn going, blasting, continuous blast. And Tracy's like, we need fires and ambos, blah, 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 Williamson Street and whatever fucking street it was. Yeah, 000 call. Anyway, so Jane's, she's stuck there, you know, it's not really going far. For some reason, I grab my baton and I'm trying to hit the front of the car to stop the horn blowing. I have no idea why I'm doing this, but the horn's fucking blowing. And I'm like hitting this thing. And then there was a couple of people who were in the AFP and I actually knew them pretty well right across the road. So they've come running over and I knew her pretty well. And they're like, fuck. And anyway, she's comforting Jane. And in the end, the forest turned up. And they're like, what's going on? Oh, well, if you have a look over there, there's a fucking car. And a person's trapped. And they're like, oh, fuck, all right, chin up free day. We'll have to go over there. And they said something about being an all uplift. I don't know what that meant, but they had to recline her chair and cut both the door was, front door was already off and they cut the other door and they were going to do an all up and cut the fucking roof off. They didn't have enough time because she was going, I wasn't well. And then I was kind of standing there and another guy, Hicksy, came up to me. He goes, oh, I just want to fucking hang out of the car up there. So there was a car, an unmarked Ford that was blocking the street for oncoming traffic the other way. And I sat there and I was watching Jane get taken out of the car on a stretcher and into the ambulance and off she went. And then I kind of, fucking go up and see what's going on, you know. And the ambo goes, where's the passenger? And I was like, yeah, that's me, you know, because I was thinking that I'll just go to work again and go into a 3-up car because when there's 3 people in the car, it's called 3-up, you know, it's 3, just continue, had a couple of burglaries or whatever, fuck, no big deal. And the ambo goes, no, mate, you got to come with me. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. He's like, no, 120 high impact. I was like, mate, I'm fine. No. So then I had to get in the ambulance. I had to listen to fucking Mix 106.5, which is the fucking most boring, grandparist fucking radio station ever. And I'm like, man, calm it down. And then they cannulated me, took me into the hospital. Tracy turned up. And that's when, and the dude, and this nurse didn't even ask me, like, what's your name or fucking, like, what are you doing today or anything. She just started fucking cutting off my clothes. I'm like, yeah, fucking off, get a drink first.
Were you injured or she was just, was this just all precautionary? What? Okay. Because are they just assuming head trauma?
I probably skipped a bit here. So forgive me. I've been taken to hospital. Jane's been taken to hospital, more urgent. We're into the emergency department. She's on my right. I'm here. I'm already well aware of the resources that Canberra does and doesn't have for this sort of shit. So I'm thinking, I'm not going to make a big deal. This person here is clearly fucked up. One, because I fucking realised. And they're frantic. And I'm just sort of sitting there and they gave me this oxygen thing in my nose. I was getting claustrophobic and shit. And I was like, look, love, I'm fine. Just let me go. And then they didn't say anything to me. They were just cutting my legs off, my pants off, and cutting my shirt off and shit. They could have just said, "Hey, mate, this is what's going to happen." And then a couple of doctors came over and started feeling my bones, my thigh bones, to make sure that it's structural, to make sure I didn't have any internal bleeding and stuff. And then, yeah, no worries. And then I was there for a bit, and I had to grab my Altama boots, black Altama. But you remember those Altama boots we used to wear at unit? They were pretty popular.
So yeah, they were
water ops boots.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, I had them when I was in 4R. We were just reservists back then, 4R Commando for a year back in 97. We were Chocos. So we were from Alpha Company. So anyone who's listening, that's basically the Choco, very early stages Choco unit and Bravo Company were the original commandos. 98, they got rid of Alpha Company reserves and then it became full-time. Well, myself, another guy like Dan Matthews, Graham Goff, Sean Ruddy, those sort of dudes, we all went to one commando after that. So we all got onto the Black Altama bandwagon and the Parasmocks, and yeah, look at us, fucking cool. Anyway, I'm wearing Altamas. I was like, they put everything in a brown bag except for my undies. And I'm like, not fucking happening. No, I'm grabbing my fucking Altamas, you know? They didn't cut off my pants. No, they didn't, because I wore my pants out with no shirt on. That's right. So I grabbed my pants, had my Altamas in my hand, and then Tracy came in and spoke to me and said, "Hi." I was like, "Hi, hon, how are you?" So they were asking her questions like, what's Josh's blood type? Is he a diabetic? Has he got syphilis? You know, whatever fucking questions. And she's like, "Oh, fuck. Oh, you know, they got for 4 weeks, you know? I guess we're going out now." Yeah, I guess, you know. And so, yeah, I walked out and I saw a superintendent from the AFP and he goes, "Oh, where's your accoutrements? Where's your gun?" And I said, "Oh, I think they've been handed back." He goes, "Okay, no worries." So he was okay with me walking out with no shirt on because he was like, "Oh, well, image." Another guy came through. He was ex-New South Wales Police, and that was he came to from Queanbeyan over to ACT Police. Can't remember his name now, but he was a welfare guy. So they had welfare dudes, and he's like, "What are you fucking doing?" And I was like, "Mate, I'm going home." He goes, "No, you need a jumper. I'll get you a jumper." So I wore a jumper, like it was an AFP one, just to give me some dignity, you know. Because I was actually pretty cool, but later on I found out that I had a neck sprain injury and some shit.
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah. So that was that. And the media had rung the communication center and they said no one's injured. So the next day in the paper was, I remember it said, "Light pole cops it, no one hurt." It's all about fucking image, you know. Like, yeah. Anyway, Jane was in intensive care about 3 weeks. Yeah. I turned up the work next day. I was like, "Yeah, well, here I am." And they're like, "No, have to take time off." And there was a superintendent there who was not normally there. And I had to walk up and say hello and they wouldn't talk to me. And I was like, "Oh, fuck you." But I wasn't fucking driving. No one's to blame. Welcome to policing. But they're so image and status conscious. So this is how people get treated, you know? Yeah, Jane ended up recovering. I ended up going back to work, but I was never the same. Never the fucking same. Yeah.
You mean like from a bitterness perspective against the organisation, or because you've had the crash and there's maybe some anxiety there, or that type of stuff? Yeah.
So you remember how I was talking to you about one thing we skipped over, the parasites that I had, but anyway. Remember how I was talking to you about childhood? So that has like a cascade effect. Think of it like a sandwich. All that layered on top of each other. These sandwiches get bigger. It becomes untidier, becomes more difficult to control, becomes heavier, takes longer for you to eat it, takes longer for you to adjust to it. You get negative effects if it's too big and you're eating it. You know, it's not, all that trauma gets layered on and somewhere you have to deal with it. Because our minds are built for survival. They're not built for happiness. So avoidance becomes, avoidance is a behavior. Yeah, it's a choice not to do something. So eventually after trauma, you avoid things. And so I was avoiding driving a car. It took me 5 years to the day. So the incident was on the 22nd of November 2008. It took me 5 years to the day until I could reverse a car again, because we were aquaplaning and the boot of the car whacked the concrete light pole and knocked it over. And as it was spinning, it came down at the same velocity and took off the car door. And the velocity of the concrete actually burnt Jane's hand. Burnt. That's how fucking hot it was. That's how fast it fell. So I was never really the same. And so I'd been through a really traumatic relationship with a New South Wales copper from Queanbeyan, but I was called
Queanbeyan, yeah.
And so she had the same mannerisms as Rod, the stepfather, except it was a female. So unbeknownst to me, I now worked out that what I'm looking for here was associating with this person is acceptance. But it's the same at massive amounts of alcohol, splitting where you're good and then you're bad. You're all good, but different is her perception of reality, ideations and delusions was something I had to come to grips with. But, you know, I was going out with a policeman. They all go out with policemen, you know, that's just fucking part of the culture. And then in the end, I actually ended it. Went, not happening. Like, I'm fucking done with this. And then it was fine. And then for whatever reason, after that car accident, we started having more to do with each other work-wise. So I started magically running into her at work. She would always answer the phone, and that never happened before. She'd be at fucking Queanbeyan police station, you know, fucking whatever. All right. So, yeah, I was already struggling from that car accident anyway, drinking more. So I was having, with post-traumatic stress disorder, there are several symptoms. So there's 4 symptom clusters, but there's 20 different symptoms. So you've got intrusion, avoidance, negative reactivity, and, mood sort of. Part of that is what's called dissociation. So it's derealization, depersonalization. Depersonalization is where what you are seeing yourself, you don't feel as real. And derealization is where you don't feel as if the world around you is real. Dissociation is where, when you're having flashbacks about the traumatic incident, you feel as if you're there. Even though I know that I'm on this podcast with you, but if I go back to that car accident, I feel like I'm there, so I'm dissociating. So flashbacks are part of dissociating. So a lot of flashbacks can also be bad dreams. So what I was having was I was in a car that was careering into a crowd of people just over and over and over and over again, constantly. So I'd wake up at 4:30, and I don't know if you remember that 80s and 90s show, Police Rescue. It was on the ABC, and I'd religiously watch Police Rescue. I'd be up watching fucking Gary Sweet fucking do his thing, his old school police fucking show, because I really struggled. And then the problem was I was playing cricket at the rugby union club, which is I'm not sure if it's around still, but it was a fairly handy sort of social outlet. And I was pretty good at cricket. I actually went on, played for the army actually when I joined, but so I had a bit of a social outlet, but I was drinking a lot as an escapism. So by the time someone gets to drinking a lot, they've gone through several coping mechanisms to get there. So a lot of people get judged because they choose to partake in prescription drugs, illicit drugs, or alcohol. But by the time they've done that, they've already climbed the ladder. If you call it the coping ladder, and the higher up that ladder it is, the further it is to fall, the dangerous it is, right? So the first coping ladder is, I've had a bad night's sleep. I need to drink more coffee to stay awake. There's the first rung. Then you go, I don't want to go with Johnny. I'd rather avoid stuff. There's avoidance. There's a second rung. Then you go, I can't calm down. I'm going to start I'm going to lash out at people or whatever because you're anxious, that sort of stuff. And then you go, I'm going to go to the gym and smash myself for 3 hours. None of this is working out. You know what? I can't sleep. I'm struggling to deal with people. I'm going to smash some beers. So as you get higher up in that rung, that ladder, the further it is, you're going to fall. And so when something big happens, like an arrest or you're done for drunk driving or you lose your job, that's the fall. You've gone up that ladder so much. So by the time someone's smashing beers or doing illicit substances or whatever, they've already climbed that coping ladder. They've already gone through, psychotherapy, medication, meditation, fucking spoken to their mates. None of it's worked. So the most serious coping mechanism is usually the last. Hence, suicidality, drug use, heavy alcohol use, you know what I mean? Because it's the last coping mechanism because they're right at the top of that ladder. So for me, I was at the top of that ladder because I wasn't someone who thought that suicide was an option, which is I'm pretty lucky for that. So I was smashing beers. I was fucking really going at it. Now the AFP, very status driven, love to judge people. I was already judged because they were like, well, that bloke lived in a women's refuge at some point. He's just a fucking yobbo from Western Sydney. That sort of shit. I was always being judged anyway. So I was really into the fucking mad beers, getting drunk and shit. A lot of people were doing it. I was just doing it more often. That was my coping mechanism. And I had Tracy, who was pretty stable for me. Yeah. So anyway, Georgina, this is probably around December 2008. Georgina, my sister, she tried to take a life. I won't tell you how, but she's tried to take a life. And New South Wales police had come along and intervened. Up in Newcastle. Tess, my other sister to Rod and Mum, rings me and says, Josh, I know you're in the police. Can you go into the police and tell me what's fucking doing? Because we haven't heard from Georgina. New South Wales police aren't telling me anything. What can you do? So I'm on duty at Woden and I drive and park out the front of Queanbeyan Police Station. Walk in. Who do I see? First person is the ex. I don't say much and she walks off. I go, no worries. Anyway, I speak to another bloke. Now, unbeknownst to me, he's been sent out the front by her to see what I'm there for. So I'm there to gain information about whether or not she's still alive because we don't know what she's doing with her. Yes, she's still alive. She's in hospital. Okay, no worries, cool. Fast track a few months later, she's made an allegation that I'm harassing her, that I'm stalking her, that I'm following her around. She says he's attended the Queanbeyan Police Station asking about me and asking about my day and what I'm doing. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, yeah, righto, fuckhead. And of course the AFP go, oh, let's investigate her side of the story. And so, that begins the story of me leaving the AFP, really. That was that. So one of the things I like to tell people when I go on podcasts like this is my life is now about education. When you are under extreme stress like PTSD, and I'm not using excuse, but it actually changes the structure of your brain, alters the structure. There's a thing that we have called executive functioning, which is a cool word for saying theory of mind, how we can understand decisions that we make, meanings of words, colors of words, mathematical reasoning, insight. If I do this, that's bad. If I do this, that'll affect someone else, And so idiot me went, this woman has given the police a false address, which she did. And I went, I'm going to look her up. She's given a false address. Oh, okay, no worries. Anyway, she threatens to shoot me. And I'm like, oh, that's not fucking happy.
This is your ex. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm off that. Look her up again. There's nothing there. So there was nothing that I didn't already know. It was just previous. Oh, so I skipped a bit. The end point of our relationship was when she hit me in the back and she refused to leave my flat. Now, a bit of an annoying thing about Canberrans is they love to judge, but they don't like to help. So I'm in this fucking flat in Watson, right, which is a northern suburb. And it's the middle of the day or it's actually, she had to go to work at 5 o'clock. So that's why she left my house because she wouldn't leave otherwise. Hits me in the back, thinks I'm cheating on her. another paranoid ideation that borderlines have. Yep, no worries. No one came down to see what was going on because I lived on the bottom floor. She's screaming. I'm saying, get out. So I'm on the outside of my front door. She's on the inside. She's refusing to leave. She's wearing a New South Wales Police fucking uniform.
Were you in AFB stuff?
No. I was off. I was off.
Okay,
She came up to visit before she went to work because apparently I was cheating on her. And I was just there fucking by myself. You know?
Ripping the end off.
Fuck. Yeah. And it shitted me because no one came down. Anyway, I rang 000, and she goes so calmly. She just goes, "You hit me." I went, "What?" She just goes, "You hit me. I'm going to tell them you hit me." So I hang up, and then I ring 131 because I knew some people because I'd worked in the 000 thing, and I ring again. Anyway, I got the
Sorry, that phone number. What's that?
131
Yeah.
So that's what. So I rang 000, and then I went, "Oh fuck, she's got a point. I'm going to ring 131 and talk to someone that I know because they work in different areas." So 000, the dude would ring and he'd be on the phone on the computer, and they'd urgently send someone.
Yeah.
But if I ring 131 I could probably talk about it more sensibly, get more story across, and they decide whether they'd send someone. I think from memory. Anyway,
Gotcha. Okay, so emergency versus like maybe calling your local cop shop or something.
and just be like, "Get this chick out of my fucking house."
Yeah.
As colloquially as that sounds, but can this lady please leave my premises? You know. And so she's just refusing. She left because it was time to go to work. So, of course, calling the police, giving a false address, hitting me, threatening to shoot me. I'm like, fuck this. So I'm looking up her details on the computer. I'm not finding anything, but it was what I could control. No one was listening to me. They're all paying me off. No one was fucking listening to me. In the end, I ended up leaving Wardens Station and going to Belconnen because it was away from where she was. So I ended up going to Belconnen. So I remember the dude I was telling you about how he gave me that jumper.
The welfare guy, yeah.
Yep. Well, Jim Edwards, that's his name, Jim Edwards. He was the dude who organised me to go to Belconnen. He was from Queanbeyan Hole and he came across the AFP. So sweet, no problems. What I didn't fucking realise is she was telling everyone I left because I was harassing her, and now she feels as if she'll finally get peace. Yep, cool. So she was doing a mad so what I didn't realise is that her parents lived in the Belconnen area, so she was frequently going to Belconnen, hanging out. Yeah.
See her at a couple of cafes or, yeah.
It was fucked.
No bueno. Did you see her in that area?
No, but I saw her dad.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Warren. Yeah, he's since passed away now. Warren Scanes. Yeah. He was he was an ex-copper. So he had a lot of contacts within the AFP.
Yeah. So he's obviously going to support his daughter, not you.
That's okay. If it's that's what happens. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is the deceit and the lies and everything. That's what you do as a dad or an uncle or a grandfather. You're down with that. You're supporting of your family. But there's a point where you've got to go, perhaps we need to adjust what you're saying here or blah, blah. And so, look, I can't back this up, and I don't mean to sound kind of jumping at straws, but I would suggest he's used a couple of contacts to bring about a resolution that, his missus was happy with. So anyway, the AFP pull me in and they say, mate, you're being accused of harassment and stalking. I looked at her, I looked at the lady and I said, obviously, thinking that she was full of shit. I was like, mate, no, the evidence is blah, blah. Anyway, so I was already diagnosed with PTSD anyhow, and Tracy and I were looking at going to Brisbane or Queensland anyway because we wanted to get away from this person. It was getting ridiculous. So, I ended up leaving. And then the AFP's like, about this looking up your girlfriend thing, you're going to have to go to court. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll go to court. And I pleaded guilty and got a conviction. And then
guilty for looking her up.
Yeah, it's called unauthorized access of restricted data.
Yep.
Which is a Commonwealth offence. And the reason why I bring this up, so Tracy's like, make sure you don't say anything that makes you look bad on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, for sure. But ultimately, two things out of that is, one, I'm about education. I've learnt lessons so others don't have to. The other thing too is, as you were saying about people who serve their country, no one's perfect, and it's kind of a result of we all the jobs that we do and the service we do. Things like that can happen. You know, they don't mean to, and I wouldn't do it again. But shit situations, they occur. You know, it's not really, but poor decision making with very long consequences occur with people like us who perform the roles we do. Doesn't happen to everyone, but it does happen, you know, and whether that's, you know, for me, it was just a dumb decision, you know, and they tried to say they looked all these other people up and in the end I was like, there has to be some realism. I tried to say that I looked up there's a woman there with the same name as a girlfriend I had back in 6 years prior. So in 2003, I was 27 and my girlfriend at the time was 26 or something. This woman with the same name was in her 50s. What am I, a fucking toy boy? So it should have been obvious, you know, and I turned around and said, mate, come on, let's fucking try and keep it real here. But ultimately, the magistrate said, look, you've looked her up 3 times. That's a consistent behaviour. I need to provide a deterrent for everybody else and conviction and get the fuck out of my courtroom.
Shit.
Mm.
So just I want to paint a picture here in my mind. After car crash, you're diagnosed PTSD officially through AFP. They know it. It's on your record.
Yeah.
And then you've gone through this stuff with your ex. You've looked her up a couple of times.
Yep.
So that's officially on the record, right?
Yeah.
She's accused you of a bunch of stuff. So when all that gets thrown into the mix in court, realistically, the only in my mind, I'm looking at it. You've got the PTSD diagnosis, and you've got 3 lookups on this or unauthorized access on the system. Is that the only hard evidence they've got to support the whole harassment thing?
They took a statement from her. I should have brought it actually. But the charge of what was it? They charged me with using a carriage service to menace, harass, offend or something, and they ended up throwing that out because of much evidence. And they were like, "You're harassing this person." Ended up like dismissing that as well. So I was actually stood down on sick leave when they said, we're going to charge you with these offences. I was actually on sick leave. So they would have been like, well, do we really want this dude? How about we just fuck him off?
Sick leave or stress leave?
Stress, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So what happens is you go through what's called a Comcare, which is the Australian Commonwealth sort of health fucking system where you go through. And I had to go see a doctor, a GP, and a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist had released his report and said, post-traumatic stress disorder, this is it, you know, from the motor vehicle accident. That was probably the last straw. Yeah. And so, I didn't do well at all. And then, there was that parachuting. My very first jump was a water descent. Yeah, Darling Road.
It's a hell of a thing, bro.
So the old Darling Road DZ there at Nowra. And we were the first ones to jump on Husband DZ, our fucking, we were the first course.
I've done both of them, yeah.
And I exited the aircraft and I didn't really like heights, but it would have been the shittest exit ever. But I've fucking, you know how you have to, back then you had to push your reserve to the side, look away, and then pull your things and then into the water. Pour your cape wells and stuff.
Cape well, yeah.
Yep. And I go in and I'm like, fuck, I'm going underwater a long way. This is a big guy, you know, fuck. Anyway, I come up and the risers are around my neck. And I'm like, well, hang on.
I need my neck.
I don't.
I use my neck for breathing.
Anyway, I can't fucking breathe. And the chute is getting full of water behind me, you know, and Zodiac's coming hurtling towards me. And they're lifting me up to get into the Zodiac. And I'm like, and they drop me down and I fall underneath. So I'm choking and drowning at the same time. In the end, this dude, and luckily back in the late 90s, before I unofficially, they were big dudes. They're like kind of like
Big jockey rugby kind of dudes. Yeah.
kind of like testing for steroids didn't exist back then type thing. Because I remember this dude's just fucking hulking arms just lift me in, and I was like, it was well known, you know.
Yeah.
They
Was
pulled
he
me
lifting
in.
you by your neck by the parachute?
Well, they worked out what was happening, and they grabbed me from behind and then held me up, and then started cutting the risers with a jackknife.
Oh, nice.
And then I had to lift into the Zodiac, and there's a pontoon thing, and I tore a muscle getting dragged in, lifting my leg up out onto the pontoon and being pulled in, of all things. And then
so the neck thing wasn't a big injury. You pulled your Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
so I've still got it to this day, and it's now calcified onto the bone. Yeah. So that's my first ever DVA accepted injury under Durka.
Nice.
99. Yeah. So that was so I wasn't happy parachuting after that. I was like, fucking nearly died. That was my first. Our first 4 jumps were water descents, and it was a Friday arvo. And they're like, oh, it's Friday. You'll be right, mate. No worries. If that had happened now, they'd have to be like, they would be like, fuck, what happened? You know?
Yeah. Parachuting injuries can be real bad. And I think, they take it pretty serious, especially after recently they lost a guy.
Yeah. So in the end, like cutting the risers from around a bloke's neck. So ultimately, the crux of this story is it's not the equipment, it was me. It was just a shit entry. First ever jump. Fuck, whatever. So it's my fault. But I was a bit off it by then. And so the psychiatrist is going through all these, childhood and everything. He's like, cunt, PTSD, man. So then they moved me to another station, Gungahlin, which is like north. And anyway, so I go to put all my stuff in the locker, and they didn't have enough lockers, and I had to take some ammunition home, and the police turn up my house, and they're like, "You've got ammunition in your house?" Yeah, no shit, because you don't have any fucking lockers. Oh, okay, all right. Like, yeah, so it's all about image and status, and because being a white male, no one's going to believe me, are they? So they believed her, and then in the end, we were never going to fucking stay in Canberra after that person. We went to the Sunshine Coast because Tracy's family lives there.
Yeah.
I'd complained to the New South Wales police and said, I feel as if the story hasn't been told properly. So we got 2 AFP guys come in with me in uniform. After I'd left, they're like, we'll support you, the welfare guys. Anyway, I find out she'd accessed my records, and then she'd also was drunk and had harassed me whilst on duty there at the front of the Durham, which anyone in the AFP would know what the Durham is just a pub at I don't know if it's still around. But she'd harassed, and we ended up having to either make a choice, either lock up the ex-girlfriend or leave the area. So we left. So that night, no coppers went there because she was fucking called a drum. So and then I spoke to the inspector in charge, and they'd made zero fucking investigation into threatening to shoot me, anything into that. In fact, the letter, in regards to that allegation, they actually used liquid paper we've got it here, liquid paper to blot out one of the words that they'd got wrong because they must have typed it up on a typewriter or something.
Yeah.
That's how serious they took it. Tracy and I went, we're never fucking going back. So I had no job. Tracy was on leave without pay, and she had to leave her job, and we stayed up in the sunny coast.
Rewind it a little bit. So you've gone through the stuff with the court, and then you've moved station again. They've rocked up to your house, got the ammo. You're like, yeah, a locker situation.
Yeah.
At what point did you leave the AFP?
I was strongly persuaded to, or I was leaving anyway, because I was going to go to the Queensland Fireys.
Yep.
And so I don't know how well I would have done there because of my mind state, but we were looking at moving regardless. And Canberra's fucking freezing. And Tracy was from Queensland anyway. So
yeah. Gotcha. So you were already in the process, and then they were sort of like, hey man, you've had a couple of incidents, just fuck off kind of thing. Who was saying that? Was that sort of like coming down the chain from above, or is it like your peers? Where does that come from, and in what form?
They did have internal investigations, and then you had a couple of guys from superintendent sort of around. Yeah. They were like, oh, this bloke doesn't fit the mold.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And do they say that directly, or are they sort of like, hey, Josh, you got plans to move on, or like, I get a
There
bit
was
of a
one
message
guy.
this record here.
There was one guy. His name was Frank. Yeah, I can't remember his last name. And he was like, Bailey, what are you even doing here? Blah, blah, blah. You fucking, yeah, blah, blah. He was a bit of a wanker, ex-artillery, fucking reservist or something. Nice guy, but for some reason we didn't get along. Like, I actually didn't mind it. I actually admired his style of policing, but for me, he would just out of the blue really belittle me in front of others,
Hostile, yeah.
Yeah, very hostile. I think if he'd sat me down and said, this is the expectation of what I'm looking for in members of the AFP, and this is where you're at, would have been fine. But instead I was like, well, that guy just doesn't like me. I'll just move on.
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is I didn't think that was ever going to happen, because in my mind, I was correct, which was my version of events and Tracy's version of events of the harassment thing. We were right, had I have not looked her up, it would have been a totally different story, because I'm ultimately the passenger in that car accident, not my fault. This whole thing with that woman, not really my fault, except I was a dick and looked her up because I wanted to know information. Like, what am I getting into here? I changed my phone number. I changed my number. I changed stations. I told people, what else do you want me to fucking do? It turns out, leave. Okay, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a really, and so the other thing too is you've got someone leaving whilst they're on stress leave. And then the AFPA said, the association were like, well, we've spoken to the internal investigations guys, and they're adamant that their idea is to capture misconduct. They don't care about people's mental health. It's not their priority. Okay, sure. Whatever counts.
So what about when because it's interesting, man, and I didn't bring it up before, but when you said you came out of hospital, I might give you a jumper,
Yep.
back to the station the next day.
Yep.
And they've gone, hey, what are you doing here? Go home.
Yeah.
I had a vaguely similar experience in terms of, like, I went on stress leave for about 6 weeks right post suicide incident for me, and not being at work and going straight on leave and then feeling isolated again for me felt sort of counterintuitive. But I didn't know what I wanted at the time, what I needed. I couldn't have told you, but I'm always interested to hear what you think about how people should go on stress leave, or should they do it straight away? Like, do you have an opinion on that? Because I've been asked this a bunch of times by current serving people. Hey, what's your opinion on this? Because we've got a guy on leave.
Each person has their own personality. So we've each got our own personality traits, our own genetics, our own environment we live in, our own interests, our own dislikes. If you put all that into a cake and you mix it up, my cake's going to be different to yours. So it depends on the resilience, efficacy, genealogy, who they have protective factors, which is what's going to keep you progressing forward. So, do you have a wife, kids, stable job? Do you like to go to the gym? Are you fit and healthy? As opposed to this bloke's just been diagnosed with cancer and his wife's just broken up with him. So we are each different. So your circumstances are different to mine. And also the traumatic incident that causes that is also different to everybody else. So our ingredients for that trauma cake are going to be different. They're going to take longer to cook, different color, different taste. And so if you think about the assistance as icing on that cake, what sort of, each cake's going to need different icing, isn't it? Each person's going to need different assistance. I'm going to be off longer than you are. You're going to be off longer than me, whatever it is. So you have to weigh up a comprehensive assessment. So what I would suggest is, before this decision is made, is we each go and see the GP, the psychiatrist, the psychologist, the wife, the husband, the family. Are there other jobs that this guy could be doing? If not, why not? How long is he going to be off for? What's he going to be doing when he's off? And who's going to go see him or her? Why the fuck are we just leaving someone at home for 2 weeks, watching reruns of Predator Badlands? Why are we doing that? So we need to we've got post-trauma, and now we've got pre-leave. So that pre-leave phase needs to be comprehensive, because the amount of effort you put in should exceed the amount of effort you have to put in after someone's, tried to die by suicide. You know what I mean? So think of it like a disaster. Preparation should exceed the amount of cleanup.
Mm.
So our preparation, we need to focus on the preparation area before the person goes, and then support. So it's the assistance part, which is the part while they're off. And then, because the more you talk to someone, the better you get at it, and the more you can notice there's going to be anomalies. Consistency is key there. If you ring someone or if you see them, fuck, I saw you yesterday, I don't want to see you anymore. Okay, cool. Hey man, I've seen you 3 days in a row and you haven't showered. You're not going to notice any of those things if you don't see them. So it's consistency that you need. People, perhaps, and this is probably why organizers don't like doing it, is you need a dedicated a dedicated rehabilitation crew for their people.
Yeah.
But the reasons why, if you're asking the reasons why someone goes off and leaves, it's because they're not able to perform their tasks, but the trauma is going to be different for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, because I've got a couple of mates, in the cops, who are cops, and they're on stress leave right now. And, they don't want to see other cops. I was out getting lunch with one the other day, and there was a couple of cops over in the distance. He's like, let's get out of here, man. I don't want to be near cops. I was like, cool, let's go. So, yeah, I'm always curious, man, as to, is it better to keep someone at work, touch points, how many times should we see them, who's taken charge of this guy and his rehab, who's staying in touch, or are they just like, nah, I don't want to see the organization at all, I just fucking hate everyone? Because, in my mind I was like, well, I think I want to go back to work. That would not have been the right thing to do, but I don't know, I was sort of isolated. I'm always just curious, like,
well, what's one thing you've missed there, and that's permission. What does the individual want? Hey, mate, I don't want to see cops. Okay, cool. Hey, I'd really like to be part of the organisation again, or I really want people checking in. So part of that preparatory before people go on leave is, what is it you're looking for? What is the goal? The missing couple of things here is the goal plus priorities. What are your priorities? What's important to you? Going back to work, not going back to work. There's a dichotomous, either you're at work or you're not.
Yeah.
So just because you're not achieving things now doesn't mean you won't in the future. So that's where priorities and time are entwined. You might have goals that you want to achieve, and you're prioritizing those goals, but they're taking longer than you think. That doesn't mean you failed. That means that time has been extended because other priorities, activities have come up in your life. And in this case, it is because of the traumatic event. You're trying to recover. You haven't recovered. You're now going away to recover. That is the goal. So if you're standing down someone and you have no intention of helping them recover, then they're failing, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Which is what happened with me. They had no intention of helping me fucking get back to work. Hence the action. Yeah, just get the fuck out, because we don't intend you to go back to work.
What about staying when you were on leave, stress leave, and then obviously leaving and then getting out?
Yep.
Were you in touch with the people at your work? Were they still calling you, or was it just a bit of like, oh fuck, where's Josh? I want, we used to rock up at the same workplace, but now we don't.
Yeah. So a lot of people knew exactly what was going on, but no one really kept in contact. That's where they went. So status over need, what I'm saying. Oh, the status, well, that bloke's off now, so I don't have to talk to him anymore because of the status, So a lot of these people that I was friends with and go drinking with, I wouldn't even fucking speak to them ever again.
And have you since?
Fuck no. There was a time, Police Remembrance Day, I sent a couple of people I haven't seen for 15 years, Instagram follows, and then they rejected it straight away. I checked the next day, wouldn't even let me follow them on Instagram. So that could either be two things. One is their life in different areas, or maybe they just thought I was an absolute cunt. Who knows? And you're allowed to do whatever you want on Instagram, but that's an example of, we were friends, or I knew you, and now you paid me off all these years later. And I'm okay with that, because it's kind of a test, Do these people want to speak to me? Are they the same? And then I find out later that some of these people, they're in their 40s and they're fucking single mums with 2 kids, but they're in the same spot. Oh, I'm killing it because I'm now inspector now. Well, you're still doing the job. You just got more stress. Now you're doing it alone because you made poor choices with a relationship, and now you've got 2 kids to look after.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a paradigm I think a lot of the time we forget about too, because I know I struggle with a lot getting out of the unit and not feeling connected. And I'm like, why aren't guys reaching out? Where's everyone gone? And, the conclusions I had to come to was, well, a lot of these guys, my friendships with them was convenient because we used to rock up to the same location each day due to work. So, once you lose that, you lose that connection, plus they're moving on with their life. I mean, they've got kids. I was doing different stuff. I also didn't reach out to them. So yeah, that whole sort of area is fascinating to me, man, because I know it's like getting out of them, whatever, that sort of service job or going on extended sick leave, for example. It brings up a lot of stuff, and it's a complex one, man.
I mean, your missus is one of the people we kept in contact. Tracy and I did. So it's funny who chooses to keep in contact and who doesn't, but that's okay. So that's life changes, you have to accept there's going to be changes. And people are entitled to do whatever they want on social media. I mean, fuck, whatever. We have a saying in psychology that social media is not real. And for the most part, all the followers you have, you probably won't meet anyway. You know what I mean? So if you're worried about, that's why I'm big on education and stuff more than the timing when you put a post on because that's the highest viewer range or anything. I don't care about that. Me, I don't care about that because it's about education, so that I've made mistakes so that others don't. Because it's a pretty shit thing sitting there in front of the television going, I don't even know what life's about. Why am I even here? Why am I here? Tracy would be better off if I left because she's still young enough to find someone else. No one will know. I don't have a future. All I can see is dark. In my mind, that's all I can see is a black fucking square wall, and the walls are closing in my mind, and that is my future. You know what I mean? So it's a pretty, you don't want someone else to go through it.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Yeah, it's why I do the podcast too, man, because there's, like, this is why what I'm trying to extract a lot about that going on stress leave and, disassociating from the job and that sort of stuff, because I think it's, I want people to hear that perspective because, fuck, man, I know a lot of people that have gone on stress leave, it's aborted suicide attempts or getting out, feeling rejected from the community, all that type of stuff. So, yeah, no, I think your story is really good for highlighting a bit of that too, man.
Well, I think you would have to look at is the work environment the cause of the stress? So if someone's divorcing and they're going through family court, but they really love their job, why put them on stress leave? So what is the cause? What is the causality? And what are we trying to achieve? We want this guy to rehabilitate so he can go back to his job. But if he's always still good with his job, why are we putting him on stress leave? So you have to understand why he's on stress leave. What's the prognosis? What is the chances of him being able to return to work? Can he do another job? And what are the goals for this guy to be on stress leave? How long for? Do we need to extend it? Do we need to shorten it? Can we upskill this dude? Can he just sit at home by himself? But if he's doing that, let's monitor. What is he drinking? Whereabouts on that trauma ladder is this person? The higher up you go, the further you fall, and the more fucking long-term consequences there are. So yeah, it's quite a complex answer to the question that requires a lot of thought. And I don't know if I've given the right answer, but each person's trauma cake is going to be different. And the government has to allocate a lot of resources with highly skilled people in order to get that question right, to get it right. Because your biggest asset's your people. Without your people, because SOCOM gets the best of people who apply. They don't get the best of Australia. They don't get the best of Defence Force. They get the best of who applies. Same as the cops. So if you don't invest in your people, and if your organizer, you want to judge an organisation, you ask those people how they feel on Sunday afternoon. If they're like, fuck this, man, I'm off it, I'm taking tomorrow off.
Yeah. That's why I asked, and I kind of laughed because, and when you said your people are your biggest asset.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting here and I'm like, that's the most obvious thing in the world, but it's that sometimes organizations don't understand it.
Yeah,
Because,
they don't,
you know,
don't prioritize it. Yeah.
well, yeah, you know, it's a strange thing. I'm like, your people are literally the one fulfilling your role and your function and the reason that you exist. If you did not have them and you did not treat them well, you would not exist. Fucking hailing out there.
I think it's hailing, which is
Nice. It's
adding to the
appropriate.
mojo.
This
Yeah,
podcast, yeah, and
Yeah,
a fucking
yeah.
tree will fall on this thing in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Anyway, yeah, that's just yeah. Anyway, I just
So that's how I ended up in the army. In 2011, I needed a full-time job. So I was at 9RQR in the reserves.
yeah.
And then we ended up going to, that was my first disaster, Brisbane floods, 2010, 11 there, January 2011. Was my
remember, yeah.
foray into the disaster zone. And then ended up applying as a fitter and armourer to be in the army. Went down there, went to the college, a bit gay and retarded. I don't really think much of it. Yeah, fuck. Anyway, yeah, past that, and then did on the job training in Townsville. Went to 1RAR. Yeah, went to 1, and then went down to two Commando as a fitter armourer. Yeah, in 15 through to 18. Yeah, which is where I met you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I'm
Yep.
pretty sure I would have met you 2015. I think I was.
You was dog handling then?
Oh, no. 17, 18 I was
Okay.
handling.
Yep.
Yeah. But I feel like I remember seeing you in that office where the vehicles were. And I think I was getting something serviced or I was getting a car for a course or whatever it was. And I think you were in the back office. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in light marine for a bit.
Next to the boats.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, light marine, fixing clappers and Zodiacs and shit. And I did a bit of time in helping out in TAG there in that little office where the armor office is. Yeah. And the old 50-cent weird. What are those fucking cans of drink you guys had? The weird 50-cent energy drinks.
Oh,
different
Rippets?
No, passion fruit and fucking peach and.
I had to say, not Chocolate Goes or something.
No. They were like 250 ml small cans.
Oh,
Red Bull. Those weird Red Bull flavors you had in the fridge.
Oh, fuck! I don't remember, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I wasn't on the energy drink, so I was smashing coffees on team. Cause,
Yeah.
You know, a lot of reverse cycle stuff and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I was like, fuck, you guys got some weird fucking drinks in there. But yeah, it's interesting. We won't go too much into it, but it's interesting what you'd have in the armory in there. I was kind of impressed. I was like, fuck, you guys got this. This is cool.
Yeah, and it's probably even different again now, you know, probably even bigger and better.
I imagine it would be. Yeah. But yeah, that was cool. I actually enjoyed that. Got to go to the Opera House and they got Asia in there and this Asia guy walks up. He goes, "Oh, mate, you carry this," hands me a fucking H&K pistol and says, "Can you carry this? Just put it in your pocket. You want you to walk across that room there and then walk back and see if anyone notices you." And I hadn't been in the air marshals before. I'd carried pistols under my shirt and stuff. And it's like, fine. He goes, "Righto, mate. No worries. This is the fucking Opera House." He's like, "Right, just go past these people here, pay and pull." Because what they had is this big room where people who perform, they have this fucking room in the background, and they have like all the TVs of all the fucking stages. And then someone comes over and says, "This is your first call, Mr. John, first call, blah, blah." And that's why they announce the people and then they go out and do their thing.
It's like the green room. Is that
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so I'm walking over there and I walk back. And then this other fucking dude, remember Katie Martin Morse?
No.
Oh, Katie, yeah. Anyway, she was at 1RA, I think, with me. Yeah, we were both at 1RA together. Anyway, they hit her up and they said, "Right, you are now responsible for there's this fucking neurotoxin agent thing that's fucking happening, and we think this is going to go off, and you're now responsible for ensuring that, you know, if anything happens, you have to tell us and blah blah." This is all part of their Opera House fucking bloody exercise. I'm like, anyway. Another ink guy comes over. He goes, "Hey, mate, you got that pistol?" "Yeah, man." He goes, "Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to point at the blokes that come through the door these guys had paint. I had nothing and had this H&K pistol. And then they didn't even search me. And in the end, I go, hey, boys, I've got this. And they're like, oh, you're a suspect now. And I'm like, fuck. Anyway, so I got treated like I was a fucking
You're not just got extended, yeah.
Yeah, fucking oath it did. And I've just got this H&K pistol, just fucking cruising around with it. Like, who wants this back? Like, anyway, one of the int dudes comes up and goes, hey, mate, you got that pistol? Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, cheers, bro. Yeah, no. Okay. Like, that was on night shift. That was overnight, But, random as fuck.
So,
yeah.
So what was it like? Because if you're qualified one commando operator, shooter, got your green hat with your
So I had to wear
your boomerang,
I had to wear the 2 Commando Regiment hat badge, which I didn't really like because I felt as if it wasn't fair to the dudes who went through the ARA one. I went through the Choco. I was still Green Beret qualified, but I had to wear because that was the unit I was assigned to. Because under the army dress manual, the ASOS,
whatever it is, I never paid attention to it. Obviously.
Paragraph 6.19 or fucking something. And so Frank Carey says, this is the beret you'll wear now. Because for 3 years, I wore the blue one. I stayed under the radar and just wore the blue Ramey thing. I'm okay with that. And then pulls out his fucking paste stick and goes, well, he can't. I remember you. And Rufus Rule remember me as well. And he goes, ASOD's this, blah, blah. And I get this fucking email on a Saturday saying that you qualified under the 98, 99 trade model. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking recent. Anyway, and you'll now wear the Green Beret under fucking, ASOD's paragraph, whatever it was. So for a year, I wore that, but I never felt comfortable because I went through the one commando system. Green Beret, yeah, no worries. But so that was just the way it was, according to Frank, and no one's going to fuck with that guy. So, yeah.
And would you have felt comfortable if they'd thrown you in the fucking RFCR or some sort of like live fire thing? And
yeah, so shooting's a perishable skill. So that's one thing you work out in the air marshals is perishable. Yeah. I mean, I would have needed some, like anything, I would have got the gist of it because you've got it mentally, you just need it physically. You know what I mean? So mentally, you would know what to do when you enter this room. And physically, after a couple of rehearsals, you then switch on and then comes back to you. So I think that's what would have happened. Would have had to get my positioning right and all that sort of shit.
Yeah. So you wore the Green Beret with the 2 Commando hat badge in that office.
Yep.
And were you a digger?
Right. I went to corporal. I was a corporal at the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when you're like walking around the base and whatnot, is that when you're sort of feeling a bit like, oh, fuck, don't ask me to do anything?
I actually would get away with not wearing it. I just walk around fucking sometimes.
I mean, yeah, you don't have to fucking know.
But there was a lot of dudes who applied and they thought, no, I'm not talking to that guy. Fuck that guy. And they'd fail. And the one guy who fucking spoke to me, he passed because back in the late 90s, there were no such thing as, energy drinks or any of these fucking supplements or whatever. You didn't do kettlebells or weightlifting. It was all fucking, the weight you had was the weight you carried in your webbing, your 3.2s and your rope climbs and swimming. That's what we did. Wasn't any of this fancy fucking paying someone $300 for a program. So I just told old mate to keep it real and do what I did, and he passed. I was like, fine, I'll jag that. But so that was good luck to him. But there was some dudes. There was one person there who was trying out for selection because you hear it all the time. Trying for selection, they get to do their own PT, and they don't even get on the fucking the SFIT. They don't even get on,
Yeah, and you've seen a couple of these guys obviously in the unit cutting around later on.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, like fuck, And then I got posted to training command. So another guy like Nick Matthews, I don't know if you remember him. He was SBT. So we got posted to School of Transport up in Townsville, and we had to wear the beret up there. Because we're posted to training command. So the way the fucking ASODs reads is if your unit doesn't have a unit hat badge and you're from a SOCOM unit, that's the fucking beret you wear. So we wore the fucking Sherwood Green. And up in Townsville, I wouldn't recommend it because cunts fucking stare at you. People ask what you're doing.
With past selection.
It was
stupid shit. Yeah.
It was, and then because the unit's synonymous with fucking harassing fucking women and just trying to big note themselves and shit. Every time I spoke to a female, they were so get away from me now. So I learnt to just stick the beret in the pocket.
I can confirm that was because of me.
But, so it was really hard trying to fucking talk to people. So what I did is I'd stick the beret in the pocket and just hope no one would fucking be like, oh, you can't, And then we were told, oh, you have to take your fucking name badge off because you know how you got that you can.
The Velcro.
Yeah. And I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. I'm just some dude who had a fucking mad breakdown again for the second time in 2016 at the unit. Frank Kerry went, you can wear that beret now. And this is just me. I'm just a Ramey guy, I don't really give a shit about all that. You can know my name. I don't give a fuck. I'm on Instagram for fuck's sake, So I just put the beret in the pocket. If I had a long walk and I figured some cunt would walk around with a cane, then I'd put a beret on. But outside of that, I was pretty cool with just fucking wearing a bush hat sometimes or whatever.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, though, is I earned to wear the green beret. I'm down with that. But I earned the one commando one. So I felt as if I was wearing a beret with a badge that I didn't earn. Because the dudes had gone overseas and they died from that unit, and there's me kind of wearing. I felt disrespectful. And it wasn't like it wasn't like I was big noting myself, trying to chat up the chicks or any of that shit. No, I didn't give a shit about that, And I was already transitioning into psychology anyway. I was doing psychology through Charles Sturt University. So my mind was pretty somewhere else,
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So when did you start psychology? And I know you just mentioned the little breakdown in 2016.
Oh, yeah. So fuck knows how this happened. I don't really know to this day. But I was on the SF roping course, right? Because I missed out on it because they were all fucking training up for Afghanistan, and that wasn't one of the courses we needed. Because in One Commando back then, you did the courses when they came up. It wasn't before you really, because of the wet chocos, So I was on the SF roping course. It was probably day 3 or 4. And I started shaking. And my eyesight had, think of it like a triangle. So I could only really see this small part and everything else was a blur. Yep. So we're doing leg ropes and I'm trying to pack. You know how you got to pack your leg rope? Yep. I'm unable to pack my leg rope. I'm trying to walk upstairs. I can't do that. Anyway, I tried to feed myself, couldn't feed myself. So I thought it was a fucking great idea to do rope changeover drills at night time with NVG. I'm like, thanks, cunt. The State of Origin was on as well. Anyway, I had a breakdown. Fucking shook, couldn't tie a knot, whole thing. And then I was struggling to breathe. And I'm like, how the fuck is this happening? So anyway, they pulled me off that course and then they pulled me off sub 1. And that was kind of, I think that was in 2016. That was like July 16. That was pretty much the end of my career, I think. Still to this day, don't really know why. I think perhaps because after I left the AFP, there's all this unresolved trauma. They just went, get out, can't fucking see you. And I got a payout from Comcare. And as far as Comcare is concerned, the payout's done. You've received your money, off you fucking go. About 48 grand in 2008, $2009, $2010. Yeah. So there's all this unresolved trauma and I was trying to be back in the commandos, get back to where I was, 10 years before. But so much had happened. You would turn up in the police force and you would turn up, this Indian lady would be there with a child that she'd smothered overnight because it was the wrong gender. That happened a couple of times. But what they would say is I had it in my in the bed and I just rolled over and I smothered her. Well, that's not happening to any other fucking demographic, is it? So you'd turn up and to jobs and there would be that, just did drastic kind of things that you kind of pay off, but, that happened. Or someone you knew had died by suicide, I had a mate. He also tried to attempt his life, and Georgina had also continued to, take her life afterwards. I was at 2 Commando, and I know I have fairly good well, one of the int guys told me that my like personnel, like some of my contact record had been given to the army. I couldn't get into intelligence. They're like, we're not taking you, mate. And he told me, he said, this is why. From someone from the AHP leaked it. It doesn't really matter. I don't have anything to go off other than that sentence that he told me. But it makes sense. I got into int and I got into human suitability. I was on the human suitability course. And the second day, I said, mate, sorry, you're out. But the night before, I spoke to this lady and she seemed to know who was going and who was staying. And she was meant to be an Air Force helicopter mechanic or something from Newcastle. And she had no idea about any of the Army fitness standards, no idea about defence, very little idea, but knew all about what was happening in human suitability. Went home the same time as me. Knew who I was before I even met her. Walked up to me and said, hi, Josh, how are you? How the fuck do you know who I am? Human, work in with the AFP, what, a bit. So I'm like. But when I got accepted into the Queensland Ambulance Service as a 000 operator, you have to, when you're on the course, you have to share rooms with another person. I share a room with a guy called Cade, and he was ex-Navy. Anyway, he mentions this name from the AFP. It's the same name as the lady the PRS lady, same internal investigations, same fucking name. He goes, I left because of this person investigated me and I left. Same fucking person. What are the chances of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Different service as well. Yeah.
He's in the AFP and he goes, no, I left because let's just give this person a pseudonym of Sierra. Sarah interviewed me and she was a real man hater and I had to leave. I go, that's the same chick who interviewed me and investigated me. What are the fucking chances of that, mate? Yeah, anyway. So I'm either getting paranoid or I'm just fucking, my life just wasn't getting back on track. Fuck knows why I decided to have a breakdown at the top of a 90-foot roping tower. That's what happened. So back to the question, when I started psychology was 2017. Yeah, about a year later, after I got better. Yeah.
Yeah, shit.
So I went into the psychologist and I said, I think I've got schizophrenia. She took it well. I said, well, what's been written about me? Because the AFP sent me reports. I was getting reports 5 years after I'd left the AFP. They're sending me, we've substantiated this allocation after you. In 2014, I left 2009, I kept getting them and they didn't make any sense because what I'd experienced was separate to what they were fucking writing. And so I walked in to this lady, Zena, her name was, and I said, I think I've got schizophrenia. Anyway, I broke down, couldn't cry. I was crying, just bawling in tears. And Tracy came in and then went through what I was fucking doing. And then she's like, I will allow you to go home, but I'm seeing you in 2 days' time. And if anything changes, we're going to have to look at like fucking inpatient care. And I'm like, fuck. So if I'd been single, then they would have put me in inpatient care, I suppose, and beds and shit. So yeah, breakdown, 2016. So I was there 15 through to 18. So I was okay wearing the blue beret for the next couple of years until it came along and went, I can't, because I felt as if I'd failed as well. But 98, 99 trade model, here you go. And I was like, fuck right. So I'd felt like I'd let down my mates as well, myself. But had I have passed a couple of those courses, I might have tried to go back, be a shooter, but it wasn't meant to be, and that's just what I have to accept. Yeah. Yeah,
there's something about unresolved, what's the word?
Trauma.
Yeah, definitely the trauma part for sure, man, but I think a lot of people have unresolved aspirations from their military or police career.
Yeah.
Especially like, a couple of breakdowns. That's the way each of those careers ended.
Yeah.
There's there's a lot unresolved there, man. But is that why you did the psychology? Because you were like, hey, I need to understand what the fucking...
To understand the difference between why some people... I think I wanted to understand the people that I was coming across in my life. And then I wanted to find a career that I'd actually be suitable at. And I guess psychology is it. What's going to fucking have to be. So, Yeah, and just I think the members that I dealt with, so those people from the AFP, just why you would be the way they are, the whole, oh, well, suck shit, no one liked you anyway. So what? That is very, and even after that car accident, they were like, oh, well, that's fucking too bad. So what?
Yeah.
One girl walked up to me. So the 2007 and 2008 Ford Falcon are markedly different fucking cars. And the car we crashed was the 2007 one. And this chick walked up and she was like, was it the 2007 or the 2008? I need to know because the 2008 car is fucking, it's so much better and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, sure. That's fucking sweet, you know? Just think of it like just dealing with a bunch of pro-Palestinian fucking protesters, except they're in a fucking uniform. That's the sort of shit. And so, and then also with the whole stepfather thing, and that ex-girlfriend, no, ex-person that I was with, that's kind of, so it doesn't happen again, I guess. Just why you would be, how you could, the damage you could cause that much to someone else and be okay with it. Like there was no theory of mind there where if I behave like this, that's going to affect them in that way, so I won't do that. There's none of that with borderline with this person anyway. So, and how you could come along and lie, make up so much lies, and then just be fucking fine. What did she honestly think was going to happen?
Yeah. So you kind of, I guess, in a way, you went into the psychology thing to understand all the patterns in your life, all these things that had happened,
Yeah.
kind of people you'd encountered, you know,
And then,
why do people behave? I guess why do people behave in a certain way?
yes. And then as I progressed through, I found that I was, through my dodgy Instagram fucking page, I was helping people. So I was getting messages saying, thanks so much, or this really gels with me. So I had a bit of a, not this is intended, but I had a bit of an audience with the blokes who were, you know, police and army or mostly army dudes, giving them those guys who had mental health challenges. And so I began learning more so that I could put on reels so that I could help others. That's one thing that I learned. So this is my second page I've had for a few years now, but my other one was like a cross between what I was doing with the RSL, what I was doing with psychology, and what I was doing as an individual. The three things didn't really match. So then I had to really ramp it up sort of professionally and keep the one sort of genre. Because as I was learning more, I felt that I could help people more education. So it's education based, not likes and timing it for more fucking views and shit. So as I've progressed, so is my knowledge base. But then as your knowledge base increases, so does this sphere of influence. And the more knowledge you can get, the more you can pass on to others. And I guess it's up to them to take that knowledge in and use those tools. Instagram's the only sort of social media I have. I don't know if it's the best teaching platform.
Depends, I think, yeah.
So YouTube's probably a good one, but I just couldn't. I was more studying heaps, you know, and I thought about a podcast, but people like yourself, when people like yourself ask me on the podcast, it's extremely, I'm very honored, and it means a lot. So, yeah, I just really got into psychology to learn more about myself and what I'd been through, understand how someone so smart can make such a big fuck up. There's no other way of framing it. Other people shouldn't have to go through what I've been through. It doesn't mean they won't. And then I found out that I'm actually, I guess, reasonably okay at it, I guess. And so now I'm 50 in June, so I'm not going to go back to being a fucking shooter. My spine's turning 70. My knees are 80. So this is me, yeah. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah. And so you're obviously already qualified. Can you explain the difference between just general psychology and then clinical psychology? Because I think a lot of people think,
Yeah.
at least I did, you know, psychology, you're like, oh, you're like a Jordan Peterson, you know, you sit down, do
He's a
therapy.
psychiatrist.
Is he? I thought he was a psychologist. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I'd have to Google it. If your listeners want to Google it and say that I'm wrong, that's okay. But I'm pretty sure he's a Canadian psychiatrist.
I'm not sure. One of them.
Smarter than me. I'm happy with that. So a man with a lot of knowledge and uses his platform for teaching. Doesn't get into the woke shit, which is good. And that's the thing about your listeners and the genre of people we try and educate is they're not into that woke shit. Fucking because life, when it gets risky, is straight up and down. You're either safe, you're unsafe. I either deal with this or I fucking don't. If I don't deal with this, there's danger. I have to fucking deal with it. It's very dichotomous. And so when you come into some of your make-believe wokeness, well, that's not helping fucking anyone. All that's doing is prolonging their mental health illness. Really. Anyway, side issue. But so I've done 5 years of training. So I just finished my master's in professional practice and I need to do another year so it works out in hours. So another year before I become fully registered. So I start a new job on Monday.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yep. So the difference between generally registered psychologist and a clinical psychologist is a clinical psychologist has endorsement. So endorsement's a fancy word of saying this is your specialty area. This is the area. So they usually do an extra year or 2 years at uni, do a clinical psychology master's, and they go away and clinically psych people. They really do diagnosis and stuff of people for diagnosis of mental health. Whereas with generally registered psych, rehab, counselling, that sort of stuff. And then you've got forensic psychs. Forensic psychology is, in the corrections, they do the mind of the criminal, why has this person committed this crime, sociopathy, psychopathy, narcissistic behavior, antisocial personality, that sort of shit. And then you might have a research psych. So you research, so when you say, research suggests blah, blah, well, they're the dudes that gather people like you and me in, give you a whole heap of inventories, and they gather up the data and say, the research based on all these people we've interviewed is this is a thing now. It's called a phenomena. So phenomena is where they've proven it beyond that of chance.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's like, what's what I'm going to say? I'm going to say not beyond a doubt, but more than just hearsay.
Yeah, beyond reasonable doubt or beyond that of chance. So it's about a 95 out of 100 chance, 95 out of 100 chance that it's going to be true, averaged out over the population, removing all the outliers, which is, So forensic, clinical, general, you have environmental psych. So those dudes would design a hospital, or they'd help with designing hospitals, correction centers, that sort of stuff.
That sounds like a job that would 100% be paid off by everyone.
Yeah.
We need to have that face.
Advertising psychologies.
Okay, that'd make sense.
Yeah.
But I can imagine like a fucking, what do you call it? Architect and a builder sitting down with a, what do you call it? An architectural psych.
Environmental
psych. And he's like, oh, that sounds great, guys. But what about this? They'll be like, yeah, no.
Sporting psychology is another one. So sports psych's pretty big.
I imagine that'd be fucking massive.
You can do an advanced diploma or a graduate diploma or a master's in sports psychology. Yep. So the Australian cricket team, all the teams, all the professional teams have sports psychs. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Yep. And this new job Monday, can you talk about it or you prefer not?
Yeah, no. So it's to do with occupational rehab. So people who, funnily enough, as we discussed, you and I have been there before, trying to get them back into work, why they're not at work, what work they can and can't do, getting them to return to work counselling, what's going on in their life, what makes it better, what makes it worse, what prolongs it, what triggers any sort of issues that they're going to have, how can we accommodate them better, trying to make their life better than when I found them, essentially.
Yeah.
So I got like a holistic approach at, so it doesn't happen again, really. So a holistic understanding of their circumstances and then improving those circumstances so that they don't get relapse, or extending the time until, they might need to find a new job or, something like that. But it's having an understanding of them occupational wise.
Yeah.
Yep. And then assisting them back to work.
And or maybe I can edit this out if I can't say it, but it's for like a first responder type organisation.
Yeah, so it's for an organisation that does tradesmen, DVA, emergency services, those sort of dudes. Yeah. So workers' comp. I think of it like workers' comp. They come in and we try and look after them.
Oh, okay. I think because I think you and I chatted not too long ago, and I feel like I'll chat you off air about it. I thought that this was a different job you were going to be going to for one of the state-based first responder organisations.
Oh, no, I did get accepted into corrections.
Gotcha. I was fucking doing a bit of wordsmithing because I was like, I don't want to say it just in case you don't.
No. I did
tell people who you were working with.
Did get accepted into corrections, but there's no jobs.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'll just sit by the phone then.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
But
did you notice my fucking
yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I got accepted. I found suitable, but yeah, look, works out or works out. If not, and that's fucking fine.
Yeah, sweet.
I think the general gist with corrections is you have to lock down your social media fairly staunchly. So
yeah, I imagine there'd be a heap of vetting and stuff.
Yeah, I'd have to sort of go quiet on that, I think. But look, that's the way it is. But yeah, so I started a new job. Yeah, on Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, nice, man. Cool. Well, dude, it's 3 o'clock.
Oh, fuck, is it?
We got some. Yeah, I know, man.
Right.
Got some dinner going on later on, but mate, unless there's something else specific you want to sort of bring up and go over, happy to wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Sweet.
Yep.
So a thing I'm going to do going forward is I've got to ask 2 questions. So first is, well, actually 3. Sorry, I just remembered I was speaking to Simps last week. Got 3 questions. First one is, what's some advice that you'd give to either someone starting out in the military first responder world, or advice that you would have given to yourself at the start of this?
Have an understanding of why you're there and what you want to achieve, and then understand that every person you talk to can have an influence on your career at some point. So give them your 100% attention and try and learn as much as you can, and give people your best first impression. Always present like you're going to be the best presentation of yourself. Yeah, really. Yeah,
interesting, man. Yeah, cool, man. And the next one is, what is your service? Or you've done a lot of stuff. I was going to joke, like, I'll be you in 22 SAS and fucking SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force as well. Yeah, what is your service collectively? What does it mean to you?
Well, we didn't touch on any DRA stuff, which is like Disaster Relief Australia. Where we
true. We did not. Yeah.
Essentially, you're just doing stuff in a disaster zone. But anyway, it means a lot to me because it meant all the people that I can assist. And then it's removed a lot of regrets that I've had in my life. So a lot of my regrets were mistakes I've made. But as far as my service goes, I'm actually quite happy with what I've achieved. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, because you've done a lot of stuff, man. Like, even just going to the fire to start, and then PSOs, air marshals, 1 commando, 2 commando, AFP, disaster relief. Like, everything you've done seems like it's a service-based. And then going to psychology.
Yeah,
this
that's
new
true.
Job starting on Monday. It's all very like serving, helping people sort of stuff. So that totally gels with your fucking career.
Yeah, I guess that. I don't know how it just fucking worked out that way. I guess life's pretty boring if you're not helping people, or if you're not tailoring it towards. Because if we don't help people, we don't create an environment for our kids to live in. They're not going to create an environment for their kids to live in. You know what I mean? So one of the things I learned from my grandparents is always build, always continue to improve. the people around you and the people generations below you are counting on you to do the right thing, to leave something behind so that they can enjoy the same quality of life as you can, you know?
Yeah. That's good, man. And I guess it's probably less relevant because you're still very service oriented, but so post those service type jobs, who are you?
Fuck. Someone who's very aware of my mistakes, I guess, but is aware that I have the ability that I can influence others positively so they don't make the same mistakes as I do. I like to think I'm approachable, down to earth. And I've been around, so I've got a lot of knowledge there that I can input to others, to help them grow as well, I guess. Yeah. Sounds a bit wanky. I don't know.
No, it's good. It gels with the rest of it too. Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
cool, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Thanks for having me, man.
Bro,
Time's
mate.
flying.
Thanks for fucking driving 2 hours down in the Belton rain and trying to navigate what do you call it? Fucking
those roads.
Engineer certified bridges and
I did this area when I was with DRA, Disaster Relief Australia. So I know this area reasonably, what floods and what doesn't. So I was like, hey, that's dry.
Yeah, I know, dude. I've literally driven across that bridge when it's had like, a foot of water. I've fucking walked across the fucking thing, They've done that much work on it. I'm like, mate, this fucking bridge
strange.
has its own engineering degree. It's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need a fucking engineer to come out here. Like, it's good.
Yeah, I can anyway. Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. I fucking massively appreciate it. And
cheers, bro. Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks for listening to that episode. We've got more episodes on the way. In the meantime, check out warriorsandwardens.com for keynote speaking or workshops for operational readiness and longevity in military or first responder teams using emotional well-being and sharing lived experience. I'm your host, Tom Brown. See you next time.